House resumes and debate continues. I remember some years ago when I was in the House as a member of Parliament, they closed the debate because no one was standing. So, and I learned from that. So I'm just cautioning members, stand on your feet so we can do the people's business. Okay, let's proceed. Honorable Vince Anderson, you are recognized.
Yes,
You have the
sir.
floor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words of advice, sir. As a good Boy Scout, it taught me to be prepared and to whistle and smile under every circumstance. So I am smiling and I'm whistling. But thank you very much. I rise in support of the budget that has been presented to this Parliament. And I want to begin by commending the Minister of Finance on his presentation, and of course the staff of the Ministry of Finance and the senior public officers who worked hard to put all of this together, budget controller, and all the good staff in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Planning. Mr. Speaker, I don't know, I'm not very good at the preparation of speeches. For some reason, I prefer a free flow of ideas because so many things pass through, the mind. And trying to capture them in words sometimes can be a bit of a challenge. And I like to be moved by the spirits. Ah, boy. Yeah. So, I am going to try. I'm going to try. But, Mr. Speaker, let me also commend I almost said leader of the opposition, but the member for Marigot on his presentation, I must say he exceeded expectations, at least mine. Knowing his normal style of presentation, I expected him to perhaps not prolong beyond 20 minutes. But he stayed, and I think you have good stamina. I wish to commend you for that. Not that I support your proposals, especially those in the latter part of your presentation. I think all women here in Dominica are well endowed and properly augmented, and therefore I don't think I would, support your proposals. But all the same, I must commend you for, staying the course. But Mr. Speaker, we really meet today, or for this sitting of Parliament, to discuss the national budget at a time when the world is going through some major changes. There are changes in the centers of power. We had moved from the fall of the Soviet Union, where we had a unipolar world, where, of course, the US was the dominant power and the only power, one could say. And the West, the countries in the West, really determined everything. And then we saw over the last 2 decades or more, the rise even of Russia itself, becoming, once again a major power. And we are seeing the rise of India. Japan continues to hold its own. But the most dramatic shift we have seen in the last couple of decades is the rise of China. And a rise in China has sort of brought with it a sort of a multipolar world where countries are now, or at least the centers of power, are shifting. So we have the BRICS in the south. We have Brazil, Russia, India, China, and other countries, even Saudi Arabia, now becoming a major influence in power in the world. So we are seeing a shift. But also one of the things that we're noticing is that countries are now more inward looking. Countries are now less, not very parliamentary, but they're becoming more selfish. They're more inward looking. And there is a lurch, a desperate lurch to the right. So what we see now, great anti-immigrant sentiment, lack of concern even for the environment and taking on responsibility for what those countries have done to countries like ours. And I will speak to that a little more in a while. So we're seeing the world shifting around us. And right now, with the war in Europe, as was mentioned by the Minister of Finance, we have the Russia-Ukraine war continues, unabated, and that has had significant impact on the cost of goods on the shelves. Because what this has resulted in is a disruption of supply chain, the increasing costs of shipping, and we're seeing the full impact. We're seeing the full impact. And the sanctions that have been placed on Russia has led to a reduction in the supply of oil and gas throughout the world, European countries. And now they are taking on more of the supply that we normally would get. That too continues to affect the cost of fuel. So there are a number of things happening around us. We go to the Middle East, where the conflicts there are making this place even, should I say, very worried, because with Hezbollah attacking Israel recently, so now you have the Hamas on one side, the Hezbollah on the other side in Lebanon, and what we could end up seeing is, God forbid, Iran being drawn into a war with Israel, and all the disruptions. And I'm saying this because sometimes people don't like you to talk about those things. And we always seem to narrow everything locally, and as if to say we're not affected by things globally. So you will see why I am spending time trying to explain that. Because the reality is, we are a country of 70,000 people. I don't know if the census, even if by the time it's completed, we might still lose a few, we might gain a few, but we're a pretty small base. And with 70,000 people, with an island like ours, that comes with a lot of challenges, which is reflected by the type of budget that we are debating today. So with the shift and the conflict I was saying in the Middle East, has implications even for our geothermal project. We were fortunate that last month the ship arrived, well, earlier this month, with about 22-ton size cooling fans. I mean, they were like each piece, about 22 pieces. Each of them was about 22 tons. It's huge, massive. And it came from a chartered vessel from Israel. So, you know, that had impact on the cost of shipping because more security must be provided. Moving in the Strip of Hormuz and moving throughout the Middle East and to get to Dominica, that had implications. We're expecting by December another vessel with the rest of the equipment for the construction of the plants. And that will be another chartered vessel. So we have to pray that the situation in the Middle East doesn't escalate, that it could have further implications on us. So the cost of goods and services will increase because of what's happening around us in the world. So we are really we live in a very challenging time. Some people classify it as a polycrisis of climate change, conflicts, inflation, and all of these other things that are coming to bear on small island states. So let us get home to what is happening to us. Dominica, we are ideally located in the Caribbean. But the same thing that makes us so beautiful and so ideal in our location is the same things that make it very challenging. The topography makes it expensive, more expensive to build roads, and I heard this morning comparisons of Dominica with St. Kitts and Antigua and Barbados. And the thing about those places, you don't even need an excavator to make a road, you know. You can just take a bulldozer, roll that, and you have a road. Try to make a road to go Marigot. You see the twists, the turns, the corners, the rivers. You don't have a river in Barbados. You have a river in Barbados? When you ask, you saw a river in St. Kitts. So the truth is, we have challenges that are unique to us. The same things that make us beautiful also make it very difficult to develop. And the whole notion about these countries have been so developed for us, you should ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. It was always easier for the British to go to Barbados and develop it, to go to St. Lucia and develop. They found friendlier terrain where they could easily develop, rather than to make the hard investment decisions to develop this country. And we know the story of the how you call it, the road that goes all the way to Marigot, passing through the Transit-Sular Road? Yeah. You know the story about how that road was built by the Labour Party in the 60s? That Libler actually, Premier Libler had to actually trick the UK to tell them he was making a farm access road. That's why it was so narrow, because they would not finance a road to connect Roseau with Marigot. So it is the same things that make Dominica so expensive. The same thing that make it so beautiful, make it so very expensive to develop. But we have been on that path. So climate change now. You see what climate change has done to us. And people don't like us to talk about it. It's convenient for them sometimes. Some of them make a living out of talking about climate change. They get jobs with the UN agencies, they go overseas, they give big speech, and they love it. But they don't want us to talk about climate change. They don't want us to talk about Tropical Storm Erica. They don't want us to talk about Hurricane Maria, as if those things were a figment of our imagination or in some distant past. You never heard us talk about Hurricane David or Aline. That was a different time, a different generation. But I want to tell you, since 1999, the government of Dominica, of course, administrations in succession, have been paying for loans that we contracted to help ourselves to bounce back from Hurricane Lenny. That's the last one I could get in 99. We know the story of Hurricane Lenny. I think it was because it came just before the general election of 2000. And you remember there was a minister of works that said he writes so much LPO, he gets zampood. And I don't know how to say that in English, I'm not going to say that. And he also said that...
So are you going to withdraw it?
well, he get a little thing on his speak.
Blisters. You get blisters.
Yeah, he got blisters. But I say, out of principle, I'm not translating, I'll withdraw. I think we should speak Creole in the parliament, and unless we do that, I'm not going to translate. I don't translate. So, and I remember he said that there were people that get housing assistance because they're in Campbell because they get sea damage, I think, something of that sort. You know that story? Never heard that? Yeah, anyway, that's a real thing. I don't make it that up. And I wouldn't call the man name. So, you know, we are servicing loans from Hurricane Lenny. And then Omar, people forget, you remember there was Omar. In 2008, we had Omar and we still paying and check. And I'm not making this up. You can refer to the government, the debt stock, in the estimates. It's right there. All of these things are there. So what we've seen, and Minister of Finance brought it to our attention, that we, for the last few years, since Tropical Storm Erica, they calculated from Tropical Storm Erica, and 300 and, I want to get it right, 356 million servicing loans for us to recover from Tropical Storm Erica in 2015 and then Hurricane Maria in 2017. But I went back to Lenny. We had to get an additional, $15 million, small, Oma, $10 million. But the Layu, remember that flood and the Mathieu Dam? We had to invest over $29 million. Now that is small, I'm just giving you these figures. But listen to this. We had to spend on sea defense as well. We had to spend over 20 million, just simple sea defense after we had damage from hurricanes. And I'm not adding Point Michel seawall, which I think the former Parabad stood up by the bay and put his hands up and said, the seawall is coming. So we had the seawall because that was financed by the Venezuelans on one hand, and the Sofia to Scott said, again, sea defense. So I'm just making this connection because I want people to fully understand that in the last 25 years, we've had to contract about $500 million responding to hydrometeorological events, floods, storms, hurricanes. $500 million. And I'm saying only from debt, from the debt stock, not the additional funds that we had to use from CBI. Because if you go back and you add housing, the investments in housing under the Housing Recovery Program, if you have to look at the DVRP, which is in fact a climate-related response of over $157 million in loans, if we have to keep adding, we are seeing just an estimate, and the budget controller is there, he can correct me. We have over 63% of that debt stock from external sources just to respond to hurricanes, storms, floods, just to respond. So sometimes I hear people talk and I'm wondering, but you live in the same country? You understand things are tough. Things are tough everywhere. Things are tough everywhere. And I begin by saying that. I'm not in that thing. I don't argue with anybody if they tell me things tight. Things tight, for real. And we talk about, the Minister of Finance spoke about imported inflation. And some of us have to make some personal choices. Why are you not taking the stuff in the backyard garden, or why are you not buying anything by the neighbor instead of going to the supermarket and shop? So that is another conversation. But the truth is, this government, the Labour Party, Roosevelt Skerrit-led administration, we've had to carry for the last 25 years tremendous responsibilities just to respond from the impact of climate change. And then sometimes people say, oh, you're talking about, what are you talking about? The Prime Minister addressed the nation about climate change, and a fellow tell me, but what did you hear him saying there? And I had to explain to him because he didn't even realize that what is happening to us now with the more ferocious storms and hurricanes and the frequencies is because of the rising temperature. And the reason of the rising temperature, by the way, a few days ago, the world recorded one of the hottest days, and we had 3 of the hottest days, back to back to back, about 17.1 degrees Celsius throughout the world, and by the way, of course, average temperatures. Some places it's winter, so average temperatures. But it was the hottest day on record. And we're seeing this impact coming to us and affecting us in a very practical way. Imagine you had $500 million. Boy, I would fix Makato and Mopo Road. I would cut a road that Fonsi to go right with it Colibri. And when I finish, I make it one big Matutu spot. I bring everybody in Grand Bay. But these are the realities. But you have to finance that debt. You have to finance that debt. You must finance that debt. That is the number one priority. Debt servicing, as a matter of fact, it's separate from the rest, of the budget. Debt servicing, that is not an option. You haven't got a choice in that. Once the parliament has contracted that debt, you have to provide for it. $127 million this year. Debt servicing. So that is not money we take and make bowl and play politics, my friend. No. That is response to the impact of climate change. It's real. And that's why, they have a saying, Speaker, we have to come to an agreement soon. They have a saying, Kaki, I'd like to say that. Si kwa pa mache pa kagwasi. Right? And, okay, I withdraw it. Mr. Speaker, we have to be out there. We have to be present. We have to let our voices be heard. And we have to go to the climate change meetings. We have to be there. We have to be present. And we have to drive home the case. Because if we're not there at the table, people will forget us. They will forget us. And this is not a joke. We have to keep hitting this thing. Because the climate injustice that we're suffering, we must talk about it loudly. And we have to get the international community to respond. They went to Copenhagen in 2009. They made promises. $100 billion a year. To date, we have not seen it. We've had small trickling of small amounts. But what we need to make the real impact, we're not accessing that. And that is something that we need to address together as a country, as a people, and to recognize that our government has made Dominica know has placed Dominica, I should say, in a better place than we were prior to the passage of Hurricane Maria. And that is one thing that comforts me, that I know that God forbids we get hit by a Maria-type hurricane, the damage will be less. The damage will be less. I feel comforted by that. And I can tell you, of course, because if you go around, even in Center Grand Bay, we're building homes, we're building houses for about how many, Minister Parra? Because your people always say I take it more for Grand Bay, because we share it with Dubic. 86 units being built, with a community center, with a church building, with facilities that will provide hurricane shelters as well. We're building the magistrates court. You know, we have the fire, we have, of course, also the fire service building. So all of these structures, once completed, will create safe places for people. Yeah, it is a real beautiful place. Yeah, I would like to say. I mean, no, it's pretty out there. It's pretty out there. It's pretty out there. It's pretty out there. Once you see we done and we fix, you know, it's a beautiful place. A beautiful place. So all of this will help to create more resilience. And of course, to add to that, we're going to build a little bit to Grand Bay Road. Because part of the resilience that we need is connections, communication, roadways. You saw what the people of Grand Bay, well, from Belleville, Chopin, all the way to Petite Savanne, suffered after the passage of Hurricane Maria. It was impassable. Totally, you couldn't get in, couldn't get out. You had to use boats. And I also want to commend the Member of Parliament for the Petite Savanne constituency, together with his neighbor from Dalis, the member for the Lapland constituency, for pushing on, unrelenting, to ensure the connection between Petite Savanne and Dalis is complete. Because those of us in Grand Bay, we are concerned about it. And I want to thank the power reps for that. Thanks for pushing on. I'm not going to try to get credit, I was doing it. You know, so I want to thank them for that. And let's keep pushing on and make sure we can get that done. But it is part of the resilience building, and it will serve us well once we can get that crossing done and the connections restored. So it's not a cheap exercise. So coming back to us and the threats, you know, they used to say when the US sneezes, we catch a cold. That is the same thing, but it's not just the US anymore. It's the entire international community. So coming back to climate change and Dominica as a small island developing state. So Dominica as a small island developing state with 70,000 people, we have a challenge. We have a challenge. Over the last 20 years, we have expanded the expectations of our people. And I say expanded deliberately. People's expectations are much more. People got used to nice things. And don't fool yourself, you know, I see Senator, you're young. You're young. You're so young, I can remember when I was teaching. And I know I taught your siblings, you're young. But there was a time things were rough. Things were rough. And look at where we are now. Look at what we have done. Now we have to go further. We have to achieve more for ourselves and our people. But every time we keep pushing on, we're getting hit. So when we make the comparison this morning, member for Marigot, about the other islands, I was there thinking, I said, well, which of these islands were hit like Dominica now in 7 years? Back to back, 96% of GDP loss. Boom, 24% of GDP loss. Which country in the Caribbean have had to go through that? In close succession, in 2 years. When we had gotten to a stage, and you have heard the Prime Minister said, our debt to GDP ratio was almost about 60%, which is the recommended numbers by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. And boom, we got hit by Tropical Storm Erica. And then Hurricane Maria. And then COVID. Now we at 89%. And I'm hearing people, you know, trying to beat on us as if to say we take the money and make a Fed. The debt, you can go and see it. You can interrogate it for yourself and see what has caused that $913 million of external debt. when we have over 63% of that being from building, responding from the impact of climate change. So going back to the small country, with 70,000 people, we have a very small tax base. We have a very small tax base, and we have committed and we have stuck to it. You've heard the Prime Minister. We're not putting new taxes. We have, in fact, we've reduced income tax. We've increased the threshold. So less Dominicans are paying income tax. Less Dominicans are paying income tax now. And the only tax we really have to collect from everybody is the one on consumption. The VAT, the value added. But guess what? Guess what we've done? We have zero rated so many goods that we can't even really collect as we should on the VAT. And to make matters worse, our system of collection and monitoring and enforcement needs to be improved. Because I am of the view, I am of the philosophy that if we can reduce taxes on people's incomes and catch them when they spend, especially in a graduated system where luxury goods will attract more tax than the ordinary. So that's why we have the zero rated, but perhaps zero may be too low. Because the state has to collect. So what we are confronted with right now is a situation where we have the same amount of people, well, maybe less, very small tax base. We've not increased the taxes of them. We have expanded the expectations. We have expanded the size of the states because we're creating jobs for our very people and offering services to our very people. And I have said to the Minister of Health, I am sure if you go back 50 years ago, when the life expectancy of an average Dominican was about 50 years, 55 years. Remember when you were growing up? You remember the man down the road there at 55 was an old man? But just like 55, right? And look at me now. You know, I mean, the truth is, life expectancy has moved to about 70. How we are now? 70 how much? We're about, yeah, almost 78. Right? COVID messed the thing up and so on. Some things distorted it. But if you go back and look at the statistics, you will see the gradual improvement. What that means is that we have a lot of more people expecting to go to government services for healthcare. We're not factoring that in. We're not factoring that in. And the government took a policy on top of that to exempt them when they get to 60. So what we are seeing is more pressure bearing on the state. Same amount of people paying taxes, same amount of taxes, but the services are expanding. So you have a couple choices. You can maybe send some people home. Yes, have I not in that? I'm not in that. I went through austerity in the early 2000s, and I know the damage, some of them irreparable. They were necessary at the time, but I really would not want to see that happen to us. And therefore, some decisions must be taken. And this is why the government is investing heavily in areas like tourism, and tourism featured highly. Because in spite of the reality, we can change the fortunes around. Now, some people say you should have more people. I don't buy that. I don't subscribe to that necessarily. I want more people around. Yes, a permanent population. But what we seem to forget is that the same neighbors we talk about, one of the things that's different between us and them as well is the fact that on a daily basis, there are more people on the island than we do. That may not be the permanent population. The amount of tourists that visit places like Barbados, St. Kitts, Antigua, St. Martin, that is what that drives consumption. Because when it drives consumption, it's not driving the demand for goods and services. In other words, people come to your place to visit, they spend more per person, and they don't depend on your healthcare services. They don't care on your schools. They don't have to go to your school for teacher to print more paper. Boy, grandma, they always tell me they want more. Anyway, but the demands are less. And therefore, you expand the revenue of the state. You expand your economy without increasing taxes. And this is why the investments that we're making are essential. International airports, marina, and all the other amenities. I heard we mention the upgrade of, oh yes, the cruise village, of course. The cruise village. Well, No, we're not using that. We're not using that word again. That name again. We build a cruise village. You know, arcade is like when you go and play little ping pong, little electronic games, little Nintendo, Super Mario thing. I don't know the new thing, so I just throw in stuff. But the truth is, we are expanding the tourism sector so that you can have more revenue. People can come into Dominic and spend. And then we can drive up, because one of the challenges, for example, we had with water, what the successive hurricanes have done to our water supply, and the investments we were forced to make, and still making. And on the other hand, we're not expanding the amount of consumers. So we must increase the thing. Because the cost continues to escalate and the revenue is not moving. And this is why, with an expanded tourism sector, we can increase consumption as well. And the same goes to electricity. Boy, my partner tell me, give me more money for geothermal. But one day I'll tell you a secret, because you're not alone. But the truth is, you want me to reach Marigot. My brother, why reaching Marigot, no man, if I don't have more money? They don't make that technology yet, You can take cell phone signal and move it from tower to tower, but you can't move electricity from tower to tower wirelessly. You must run wire. So look at this. We are building a 10 megawatt power plant. And Dominica's consumption, say, 18 is our peak. 18 megawatts. 18 megawatts is a small system, a very, very small system. In our neighboring islands that you mentioned again, and you mentioned them, so I'm going to use one, St. Lucia, for example. Their demand is like 70. And ours is 18. So we now need to expand. We need to expand in terms of power. Because if we're building a 20 megawatt power plant, we would get the final consumer would pay less per kilowatt hour. But it costs almost the same thing to build 10 megawatts as 20 megawatts, and therefore we cannot get the full benefit. But it is an essential investment. It is an investment that can help now to create more opportunities. And we're connected now with tourism and ports because we are looking at the development of shore power. I like to explain. I'll always tell you, don't look so worried. I'll explain to you, brother. I'll explain to you. Don't say, Mr. just saying thing and you don't know what that is. Shore power is simple. When the ships get to the port, there is a regulation from the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, that they have to shut down their engines and take power from the shore. Fellas like to get nice words for things. They call it shore power. So that's what it is. Not S-U-R-E, It's S-H-O-R-E, shore power. So you connect, and what we're hoping to do, like Iceland has taught us, and we had a recent visit to the Reykjavik Geothermal, and to see how they are moving with shore power. And they are now expanding. They're providing 5 megawatts of power to ships, just to the port, for ships that come to port. And they are now developing another 10 megawatt facility that will be dedicated to ships. So that is something that we hope we can do together with the Ministry of Tourism and ports so that we can further expand the benefits from tourism and, of course, from shipping generally as the international regulations kick in. And that is something we're excited about. It means that we can sell power expensive to them and cheap to you. And that's why I'm after this. I am not after this because I'm trying to save the environment, by the way. Sorry to tell you, bad news. I am behind this. I got excited about it because of the potential that it could have for the country. It's a revenue source, but also it means that consumers can benefit because more power we have, the cheaper the unit cost to the consumer, and it has the benefit of saving the environment. So I'm happy, everything, happy coexistence, but at the end of the day, it's for the benefit of the people of Dominica. So this is, we have to understand this. And sometimes I think we get beating ourselves. And I know some people don't like me to say that. and people from all complexions. But I think sometimes we spend too much time babbling with each other. Sorry, quarreling, is that the right word? But as I said, I will draw in instead. I'm not translating. So we spend a lot of time having quarrels with each other. Squabbles, they say. That's a nice English word. That's a nice English word. I like that. That's why I say Belmo. Yeah, that's it. So we spend a lot of time having those little arguments and over things that we cannot change when the real challenge we have is external to us. And we can only deal with the external challenges if we come together as a people and have conversations, discussions, engagements, as we had last week in the Valley and throughout Dominica in preparation for the construction of our transmission line. But, Mr. Speaker, this for me, this budget is also a very exciting one, personally, and I'm sure for the people I represent and for all Dominicans. Because for the first time we come into the Parliament to report that we actually have the construction of our power plant on the way. And that is exciting news. Because as I said to somebody recently, if you bring in 22-ton, 60 feet long devices, you're not going back, eh? You're not going back. You know? So once we have gotten to that stage of that project, I feel very comforted by the fact that this is really happening. Now, anything can happen. I'm not God. I cannot speak with certainty, but I can say to the House that things are moving in the right direction for the construction of our 10-megawatt geothermal power plant in Loda. So that is good news. So we also, on July 18th, we informed an Indian company. I don't like to say the name because I don't like to say people's name wrong. And I don't feel like watching my notes. So there's an Indian company that tendered on that project, that won the tender. And we will be awarding the contract to them by August of this year. Once the World Bank agrees to the submissions that we have made, and I hope they don't send back for more clarification. But we will be signing a contract for the construction of our transmission lines from the Roseau Valley to Fokole. And that is also great news because you remember a few months ago, we came to the Parliament to approve the contract for the loan for that project. And we are very happy to report to the Parliament as well that the Parliament approved $38.5 million US, and the lower bidder came at $38.9 million. So we're only $400,000 US short. When I say short, we have also secured those funds. And thanks to Minister of the Environment, member for the Salibia constituency, that he went to enough of those climate change meetings that he was able to get the Global Environment Facility to agree that the $8 million that we applied for, $4 million will go to geothermal and the other 4 will go to some other projects. So we're very happy about that, and we're looking forward to the construction of the transmission system. We've also, earlier this year, as I informed the Parliament, we signed the agreement for the construction of our battery energy.
23 more minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I said, I'm trying to be a Boy Scout again, and I will try to fit in within the time given. So, Mr. Speaker, that project will, as I said, and I think it's important to repeat, sorry, you have to hear it again, but there's somebody who might be following us on the radio or wherever, and they may not have known this. So we're building a 6 megawatt hour battery storage system in Fokole to be integrated into Domlec system. What this will do is that it will allow us, or allow Domlec to shut down some of its diesel generators, and this will become the backup power that they need. The way the system works is that Domlec is required to have one generator spinning, even if it's not providing power. So in the event that any of the other generators on the network goes down, this one will kick in quickly. It is something that they call spinning reserves, but it has to work all the time, 24/7. So which means that it is consuming diesel all the time that we are paying for, but we're not using, but it is there as a guarantee for us. So it is part of the cost of electricity. Once we shut it down, it means that we won't be consuming diesel without making use of the power. And we hope that it will have a very small impact on the tariff, but we would expect that to be passed on to the consumers. That is being financed by the United Arab Emirates. I know every time people hear that, people don't even know where that is, but they know where Dubai is. So, and Abu Dhabi, their capital is Abu Dhabi. So the United Arab Emirates gave us a grant some years ago, $5 million US, and that is where the financing for that will be coming from. Mr. Speaker, I want to move on to some other things that I think that are worth mentioning. And I am moving all over the place, but I hope at least I will not lose the audience, because I really want to convey a message, and the chief message is that we have to accept the reality of the world as it is first, and then do something about it to make our lot better. And that is the theme. That is the theme. Because we've seen, and I spoke earlier about the desperate lurch to the right that we're seeing throughout the world, and especially in capitals of centers of power. The United States, the United Kingdom has gone back to labor, but there is still that tendency to have the strong anti-immigrant sentiments. They still have the tendency to be very inward-looking because of their own challenges. It's not because they're bad people, but they're trying to protect themselves. And these have implications for us, for our programs, our citizenship by investment, for example. And we have to be mindful of that. So whatever we do, we have to do it in a manner that will not give them what they need to cause us more pain. So, Mr. Speaker, I really still feel very, very optimistic, very hopeful. And I've seen something that the Minister of Agriculture forecasted and told me several months ago. We found ourselves, when I say we, I'm talking on Dexia, as it's my responsibility. Dexia found itself earlier this year in a very difficult position, where we gave the commitment in the budget last year to pursue a number of initiatives. And one was to get out there and get more markets and to set up depots and to do some great stuff. We did go. We went out there together with the Ministry of Agriculture. We formed a team together. We went out. And the alarming thing for us then was that production had gone down so low in the agricultural sector. When I say so low, not enough to meet the export and local, but enough to do enough of the export in the traditional markets, the markets that we have in Guadeloupe, in St. Martin, in Antigua. So we had product for them, but we could not expand because we did not have the kind of production that the minister, I know, have been pushing to achieve in order to meet our target of 700 million by 2030. And we went out and came back and decided, you know what, we need to continue to keep those relationships. And as he said, that by the summer, you will have so much plantain, you will not know what to do with it. So that was one crop, and he was very correct. And we found ourselves in Dexia having to buy more plantains in 3 months than we ever bought before. So we were able to buy 158,000 pounds of plantain in May, June, and July, so far. And that number will increase, because the minister told me that is not enough to satisfy the demand, so we keep buying. We have done a few things based on the advice from the Minister of Agriculture. We have informed, improved our system of informing farmers. We are moving away from inviting farmers to bring to us and say, once you have the product, you have the produce, just come, we'll buy it. because of the facility that was created at Dexia, with funds from the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that we can procure fresh produce from farmers. This experience for us has given us some more impetus to finalize contracts with farmers to ensure that they will produce for us. And there are a few little wrinkles that we need to iron out. And I'm sure that we'll be able, in very quick succession, be able to finalize those arrangements with farmers so that we can give a boost to the sector, as the Minister of Agriculture has been aggressively moving in supporting farmers, encouraging them to plant what we know we need to plant, because they have a very detailed plan, and I'm very encouraged by that. So I'm very excited, and we will be doing more outreach. We will be working more on our relationships, and I'm speaking to our Dominicans, especially outside of Dominica. We're looking forward to you working with us. We have approached a number of Dominicans who have outlets for fresh produce in Tortola, Antigua, St. Martin, and we will continue to work with them to ensure, in St. Kitts as well, forget St. Kitts, to ensure that we can have those outlets for Dominican produce. But Mr. Speaker, one of the things we really want to work on this fiscal year is something that we've spoken about quite a lot: the Nature Island brand. And I believe that Nature Island brand is something that we must stop talking about and really get down to defining it in very real terms, so that a Dominica Nature Island seal will say something to consumers. And that initiative, we hope, we will partner with the Bureau of Standards to help us invest Dominica, discover Dominica. And I sort of like the logo that they have from Discover Dominica. That we have to develop that Nature Eye logo that will really give our produce a boost. And I'm saying this especially in line, and I think it could work well with even our efforts at medicinal marijuana. So that one of the things that will differentiate us in the market is that Nature Isle image. Although some fellows tell me don't promote that too much, you know. Well, well, there seems to be a fear that market forces. Well, you don't hear this. Well, you don't hear me. Yes. What we're concerned about is that market forces may drive down the price. So I may not be too enthusiastic. So forgive me if I'm not, because I'm protecting my investors. My investors. You know. So we are hoping that a Nature Isle brand will be able to give us that additional push. And I heard the member, he's a farmer, so I respect him. Myself never planted anything in my life, so I don't know about that. But I think I will listen to him and a lot of things about agriculture. But I also believe that this whole notion about organic, I don't really buy that. I think I learned something from a gentleman. I visited his farm yesterday. He told me what we should strive to do is as close to natural as possible. Because organic may be deceitful and deceptive. Because we may not truly be able to achieve 100% organic. That's right. So we need to start positioning ourselves, that nature, Eden garden thing, you know, that kind of concept, as close to nature as possible. And we should use that as part of our Nature Island brand, so that even when we start producing medicinal marijuana, we can have that edge because a lot of people are ahead. And trust me, the Western world, the North Americans, the Europeans, all the time they were suppressing the weed, they were developing the industry in their countries. They were doing the research, they were doing the science, they had everything done, you know, to the last detail. And we might find ourselves the same way bananas are on the international market, that we might not be able to compete because of the price point. Because a guy can produce more weed than you know, in places where it's very cold, you know, more than we can in a place where it's always nice because of the science, because of the advantages that they have over having been ahead of us, plus the research that will need to be done. It is something that we need to watch. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to come down to something that, again, as Minister of Foreign Affairs, I want to express gratitude to the government of China, the People's Republic of China, for the generosity over the years. But more so, I want to single them out, because when I spoke earlier about countries that are more inward-looking and countries that are moving to the right and climate justice, China still, even if it is categorized as a developing country with tremendous wealth, but still second largest economy in the world, but it's still a developing country in the sense that all its people are not at the level that they would like to be. And therefore, they're still able to extend the hand of friendship to us. And we have to always be grateful. They always show up for us. After the passage of hurricane, they show up for us. And now, they're building 6 new schools throughout Dominica. And I'm very excited to see the progress on the Goodwill Secondary School. Very excited. And I remember last year when I visited China, and as I say, we were able, withdrawn. If we were able to convince the Chinese government that we need these schools as soon as possible. And the other challenge we had, Mr. Speaker, was that we wanted to do multiple schools at the same time. And they were insisting that they could only be done successively, one school at a time. And today, and the PS of Education is there. Minister, I know you visited every construction site so far. I want to commend you on that. We are rolling with all 6 schools, and I want to thank the minister and her staff for helping us in Tetmon. We were able to procure the land, and Minister of Lands, thank you very much. We had to rent additional space. We had to get access to additional lands, and today we have cleared the site, and work really, one can say, will commence in earnest in the coming days, because the minister visited us last week. So I want to thank the Chinese government. So the people of Tetmon, they're going to have a lovely school. And what I remember in one of the consultations we had with the community, there was a debate as to whether the school should go up where the old one was, or whether it should go down in the village. And one lady said, "Depuis passer one place là, ou passer faire l'école là." So
You would like to interpret? That's how it is. That's
I
the
must say
rule.
that one in English because you will not get it.
Yes.
So what she was arguing is that the new school going to have a road going wrongly, and that's going to look like overseas, wrongly. And the other school, because of the location, we cannot go wrongly, so the Pakafer Lekola. And that was the argument the community had, because they had a debate as to whether the school should go up or should go in the village. So I think the lady who said it after pass around, she won. So the school is being built in the middle of the village. But, Mr. Speaker, the community has been very, very patient, and Ms. John Phillip and her staff, they have been excellent. They have never complained. They've had to use a resource center since the destruction of their school, and they have no complaints. They have made it work. The community have supported them, and they've made it work.
8 more minutes.
No, that's cool. That's okay. I can manage. Thanks. And one of the things that we will be doing for them, that is that there is a hard court right outside the resource center. We will be fencing it and upgrading it and ensuring that the community can have better use of it. And I know the Minister of Sport, she normally gives us light, so I know she will give us light. So that is the next step for that facility, and we're looking forward to that. I also want to take the opportunity. I want to take the opportunity. I will not sit without commending of course, Kavim Hodge. I don't want people to say that I'm so parochial in my views. So I thank him, and that's called the century first, recognizing him, Kavim Hodge, for his century. the test match, but also to recognize that Alec Affan has opened the door, and we will celebrate him. And his score of 82 is something that was well done, and we have to commend him for that. But I'm waiting. But if you reach 82, it's easier to get to 100. It's not 81, you get to 100. Anyway, so we are looking forward to completing the Geneva playing field. And I hope that something will be done there in his honor. Because that is where he started. That is where he started. And I want to take the opportunity to extend condolences to the family and friends of Rafa. Rafa was his coach, who passed away several weeks ago, and worked hard to get these youngsters to play. And the Geneva playing field now is back in use. We hosted, the win was under 19 cricket. We are now hosting the DCA tournament. I don't know how they call that, but anyway, they're playing cricket there. I made sure they have what they needed. They told me the last thing they told me they need rope. I go and get rope for them, for the boundary. So we have done everything we can. We've just ordered a new lawnmower because the last time our lawnmower broke, I went wrong, Dominic, asking everybody that playing field to lend me the lawnmower. They never lent to me, so I buy a new one. And my partner I can show you the picture. My partner Itai, when Itai go and sit down on his lawnmower, not the little thing he had there making circles, he sit down on it and have a special automatic thing that picking up grass. And when he finish, just pressing a button and the grass coming out. But Mr. Speaker, I am very passionate about my playing field because I remember how it was when I got there. And people laugh at us. They said it was Jurassic Park. They take pictures, they send on Facebook. I'm asking them, put their pictures on Facebook. No! Go viral, go viral. That's the expression. Sorry, I'm not really good in the thing. Let them go viral. The same people. And I saw a lady that was putting this thing and giving us, bro. She was selling bakes and chicken when we had the tournament. But I doesn't push people. So I just smiled to her. I doesn't push people. So
we really have to change the language. But we need people, the stenos would have to understand and write the language too. But you have to interpret. We push it.
I withdraw.
Okay.
The lady's a nice lady. I'm not telling her anything.
Okay, we push it, we approach. Let's show.
But Mr. Speaker, so we're doing well, and I want to thank Armour Thomas, Teacher Willie, my partner Itai, Jeremy Isaac, they call Shadow, my good partners. That's my reliable crew. They volunteer on a Saturday. They used to push. All I had to do was give them a little broth and, a little thing, and, we're good. We do our work. We repair the washrooms. We do a lot of stuff. We are now going to construct a new washroom. We'll help ourselves, Minister, but we'll welcome your assistance. We are also looking at setting up our own stands. But so far, the Ministry of Sports, I think they are short of 2 stands from the stadium. I hear they're looking for them. But, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to provide an excellent facility that can promote especially cricket throughout the country so that it can be utilized. Another point that I want to raise and to thank some of the volunteers. The farmers in Makaton, Mopo. There's a gentleman, boy, Mr. to give me talk here, boy. He came to me in Mopo. His farm is in Mopo. And he said to me that, boy, Minister, the only thing I need is for you to give us materials, we'll fix the road. But I told him, let's go see the road. We went there. When I saw the road, I said, no, I wouldn't do that to you. I will do everything that I possibly can to get that road done. I will not say everything here in this Parliament Assembly because my colleagues know the things that I had to do to get it done. But I want to thank the Ministry of Works for the assistance, Minister Grant especially, and his permanent secretary, Mr. Lancelot, for their assistance in providing a copious amount of cement and to ensure that we had enough tariff to get the job done. And we want to continue but we have done the worst part of that road, and the farmers are relieved, but we know we have to go higher up and do some grading to ensure that it can stand for the time until we can reach all the way to the top. And I know that the Minister of Agriculture is going to provide us with some support this fiscal year. And we're hoping that we can do the same on the Mercator side. With some support from the government of China, we're able to do piece of the Mercator side as well, and the farmers are relieved. But the intention is to just get the entire road done to the end, so that farmers can more easily go to their farms and just drive to their farms and be more productive. So we want to do that. And the farmers in Dalfonsi I mentioned earlier, is a place that we really have to look at. And I know I've spoken to the Prime Minister about it, and he's indicated that some support will be provided to the farmers in that area. But I believe that this could be a possible connection to the south of the island, moving all the way to Petit Colibri at the back to ensure that we can make that loop, again, part of our resilience building effort, and opening more land for more production of agriculture, and also with potential for tourism. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to end as I started, and to really take the opportunity
2 more minutes.
to give my support to this budget. Very difficult budget in the circumstances, difficult times. But I think in the circumstances, we've done an excellent job putting this together. There's a lot of work to be done to make all of this happen, because these are challenging times. These are challenging times. Anybody who try to pretend it isn't, may want to think again. These are challenging times. But what we have always done is that we've done well in very challenging times. I think when we're tested, we always rise to the occasion. And I think this year's budget will prove that the Labour Party is still the best choice for Dominica, and that we will still make it happen, because we have survived tougher times. But there are great opportunities in this budget, and I'm anxious to see them unfold. I, too, will double my efforts. The Ministry of Trade staff, I've put them on notice that they have to do more than they normally do, because the orientation and expectations from them are different. Now they have to do more. They have to do more. They are now collaborating more with Dexia. I want to see us developing more ideas, do the research, and be able to provide support to Invest Dominica, to small business, and to look at opportunities that exist in the economy, and especially those with potential for trade. And this is why we believe that in small business, we need to focus on developing some small businesses to get them to the stage where they can truly become exporters of Dominican produce. But on that Nature Island brand. But boy, it's a good thing I just scrolled. I almost forgot my NEP people, boy. These are the best people anywhere I've met you. I have some reliable NEP people there. And I'm telling you, these are not just words of, these are people who are reliable. We need to clean by the school there. School opening, we have to clean it. Playing field, we have to, they're there. Road, I brought them all the way to Farm Roads to help us.
Time up.
So I want to thank Leandra and Cleo and their teams for always being there and ensuring that the community of Grand Bay, Tetmon, Mountain, and Grand Colibri are always very pristine. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Kozia, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the budget set before this House. I'd like to thank Dr. McIntyre, the Minister of Finance, and his team, and also the cabinet colleagues for preparing this budget. Really and truly, we are indeed, from what I gathered from the Minister of Finance's speech last week, that we're really building a dynamic Dominica, a resilient country, and we are doing so by creating very robust and very strong frameworks and policies. And I think those will be affected by internal forces, but also by what's happening in the international world. So after listening to the Minister of Finance, it is clear that there are a number of components to building, of the continue building our resilient Dominica. And those tie very nicely with the ministry I'm charged with leading. Um, Within the Ministry of Environment, we do have environmental coordination, forestry, wildlife and parks, Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, constituency empowerment, Canal Affairs, and the National Employment Program. And if we scan through the draft estimates here, 2024, 2025, we'll see a number of line items, and I speak to rehabilitation of the trails and eco sites, the constituency empowerment, reforestation, enhancing the natural environment, multipurpose Kainagu center, uh, waste management at the community level, strengthening our livelihoods in the Kainagu territory. We are doing also the phase down of hydrofluorocarbons and through the Montreal Protocol, the Kainagu Development Fund. And so all of those bits and pieces that really help to magnify what should be a dynamic Dominica. And so the key components I speak to, first and foremost, I think is governance and the institutions of government. And so, so for example, in the past few years, we had post-Hurricane Maria, we developed the CREED. We had the Climate Resilient Executive Agency of Dominica, and that has now transformed into a capital projects unit. So that's a pillar thing, a key thing. We also foster a lot of participation in government. So for instance, just recently we had a number of pre-budget consultations, and that's important. So that's a key thing in developing a budget and having a resilient country and a dynamic Dominica. But also, we're also mindful that we have to have well-designed economic policies. And so we ensure that we diversify the economy in the past few years to ensure that we do not depend on, or we do not let happen to us what happened during the colonial period, where we depended on a single product to move our economies. And so we have been able to diversify. We have moved into tourism, agro-processing, and we are growing our agricultural sector as we speak. And so this in itself are very, very strong and very, very powerful policies that will help push our resilient country. Mr. Speaker, we also understand that education and the development of skills is very important in that movement, clearly articulated in the budget address as well. So we have to continue to provide a high-level education and access to that education. And it's very, very clear that in Dominica it is so visible, access to tertiary education through our Dominica State College. Every child having access to secondary school. Every child also having access to primary school. That's a key thing. Even recently, the Minister of Education will expound on that as well, but we have been able to develop our skills. The CVQ has been done. And as a matter of fact, the comrade Henderson spoke to the new schools funded by the People's Republic of China, and we're pushing to have the Goodwill School be that a premier skill development institution. So we are doing this, very, very important. And in my constituency, we are doing this the Siniku Primary School. It's going to be a brand new school, and we're hoping that that the little discomfort that we have now clustering our students at Salibia, once that school is done in the next 2 years, we will see a massive drive and moving forward in the Siniku area. So we have this. But Mr. Speaker, also we cannot divorce from the conversation the health and health of our people. The Minister of Health spoke this morning about all of the issues that have been dealt with at the health level. And so we know that we are ensuring that there's universal access to all our health services. That's key. If we are to build a resilient country, if we are to continue to build dynamic Dominica. And also, we have seen a lot of investments in public institutions, in public facilities, a number of health facilities across the country, brand new health centers, in some cases, a hospital and health center in one constituency, for instance. So we are doing this. And we just heard recently in the budget address by Honorable McIntyre that the nursing structure is also being done. So we are making headway in that light. And it is important to highlight those issues because building a resilient country, as Comrade Henderson spoke about, it's not easy for us in a small island developing state. And especially being one that is very, very rugged. One that was good to my people because we dug behind the mountains and stuff and in the valleys and we survived. And I speak to the Kanago people, but one that has a lot of challenges for us when we have to develop our infrastructure. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to shout out the people of that space, the Wakama Tupegua area. I want to pick them up. Yeah, it's people have been good to me. Have been good to the Dominican Labour Party. People I am continuing, and I am always happy to serve once called upon. But Mr. Speaker, another pillar component that the minister spoke about in the budget address is infrastructure, and that's important within the narrative of a climate resilient country. So we are continuing to develop modern, efficient, and sustainable infrastructure. And Mr. Speaker, I speak specifically about transportation, energy, and telecommunications. So communications, for instance, we know that we have our access to internet services across the country. A story that we seem to forget after Hurricane Maria when everything was destroyed. We were able to bounce back. The East Coast Road that traverses through my constituency, that traverses through the Casabas constituency, is a major investment, and we speak to 127 or 28 million dollars for that new road. And I just want to really thank the people of my area, my space, from Wakama to Pegua for being patient, and some of them would have suffered a lot of dust and horrible road. But I think we are getting to a final place. And once that is done, we can see that tie nicely with the international airport. And people will have an easy line to the Kainago space to enjoy what we have to offer in terms of history and culture and heritage. But Mr. Speaker, we also heard the minister speak to the marina, the international airport, our new cruise village, or new cargo port with onshore power coming up for the geothermal, and also the geothermal energy. One of the things we realize as small economies that we have to realize that the cost of fuel, which we have no control over, affects our economy, affects everything we do, from your home to production, and in factories and in the tourism sector. And so we're happy that we could have those kind of infrastructure that will positively affect our resilient agenda. Mr. Speaker, what is also important in the infrastructure development is a level of equity across our wonderful island. And so for instance, we see that a very narrow gap between the rural and the urban areas. And so if you go to any community today, they will have the nice homes and the good roads like anywhere else. And so since we've been pushing our resilient agenda and dynamic Dominica, we've been able to how we say it? We say we're narrowing the disparity between urban and rural areas. But in so doing, we're also doing the Roseau development. It's a project we started back, but we are doing it. And that is a big significant part of our story as well. Because as the center of commerce and of government services, we expect our town of Roseau to be a shining example in the region. And just to say that Roseau has a long story. It was called Syrie back in the days. Yeah, there was a massive carry where the Catholic Church had everything now. It was a cargo settlement. Them French fellas used to come and cut wood to fix their boat and thing. Um, and when they see all the Wozu on the river, they say, boy, that's the we call it Wozu. Yeah, and then over time it changed and there was the river was going right through the town. Um, that's why there's still waterlogging Wozu. We carry it go underground. And there's a myth behind that we moved the river back in the days. We had the poor the ancestors to move a river. Anyway, but so we are we are we are moving in that direction, and so infrastructural development is very important in building a resilient country. And but the minister for trade also spoke to um, the road that leads from Rubier to Bagatelle. Or I think it's called in the old days the Grand Bay Road. That was it. Yeah. So we're doing that as well. And these are massive investments. I think the contracts have already been signed and we are ready to roll. And I think it's going to be another major investment that will give us access to a wonderful part of the island. Because I don't know if you know, Mr. Speaker, that the first settlers who came to our island from Matnik, they come down Grand Bay. They come down Berwick or Grand Bay there. The Iraka Cross and thing. We've been that done a couple of times. It's a long story. So the Grand Bay community has had this very strong militancy as well, but it has a story that starts with Kalinago people, indigenous people moving forward. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are ensuring that in the budget this year that we could do much more of those infrastructural work, and that we can have the resiliency cemented in our buildings across our land space. Mr. Speaker, so we speak to new health facilities, new schools. We're now speaking to the new tourism product, Nature Island brand, and that for sure has a selling point because we are uniquely placed to have that positive impact on our economy. Mr. Speaker, but one of the key things we have done in the past year and in the past few years under the Dominican Labour Party government is the social policies we put in place. And sometimes we take it for granted because these are things that we cannot easily see. We could see a bridge, we could see an airport, we could see a road, we could see houses, but the social interventions are things that you cannot really see. And so, Mr. Speaker, I speak to, we have social safety net programs for the most vulnerable of our state, our citizenry. People who had a hard time. And so there are people who get a non-pensionable allowance, a little thing. But we may consider a little thing, but it's for a retiree, as we say, somebody beyond the age of 60, who is not working and who has to survive. Who does take a little dignity and have a little change in my pocket? It's my money. I think that is so important. So in terms of how we see that, it's not something we see visibly, but it's something that is entrenched and is deep, and I think the people are so happy to have those sort of interventions. And not only that, Mr. Speaker, the older folks, we also have allowances that get down to children. We assist with school transfer grants. We make sure that our children look sharp with new uniforms. They are well equipped with textbooks. And just a little back to the elderly folks. We have a wonderful program called Yes We Care program that deals with the elderly folks in a very humane way. And these are things that we have to celebrate, Mr. Speaker. We have to celebrate them because they bring a level of dignity. So even if we're in a small state, surviving tough economic times, but that the people can live with some dignity. So, Mr. Speaker, we have a lot of those social policies that, as the Labour Party government, we have done and we will continue to do. And as if you listen to the Minister of Finance, you see that we are continuing those programs. throughout our country. Mr. Speaker, we have been able to connect on the international level, because as a small island state, we can't build a dynamic Dominica or resident country without help from others. And in so doing, we have built strong diplomatic and economic relationships with countries like the People's Republic of China, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, the Republic of Cuba. We have had wonderful relationships also with the UK, United Kingdom, and Canada, and there are a number of projects that we have done with just having good friends in the international world. And so these are not things that we should take for granted. These are things that really count, because in building a resilient country, in building a dynamic Dominica, a pillar or a major component of this is how we continue to nurture and build international relations. Mr. Speaker, we have to continue to be resilient and be able to adapt. And I think that is really the message of the budget we have before us. That we have to continue to be resilient, and we have to continue to adapt to the times. I mean, Comrade here made the point that it's tough times out there. And we're able, for the most part, to ensure that the basic services across the country, they're provided to our citizenry. A simple thing like getting paid at the end of the month. And if you look at the wage bill, you'll understand. If you go through the estimates and look at the wage bill, it's a tidy sum of money to run and operate a country like ours. And so we have to take this into account. And so we are building resiliency. We have been able to, on the resilience side, develop our disaster preparedness plans. We have shelters built across the country. Soon I'll be having one built in the Kainagu space. It will be called the multi-purpose Kainagu Emergency Shelter. It will be a wonderful edifice. It will portray aspects of Kainagu heritage, etc. So we are doing this. Mr. Speaker, we have our new Met Office. Recently we had I think one of our first broadcasting the proper thing. Now we have a screen, and you see the map and you see the wind blowing and things. We have that done, so we're ready. Yeah man, high science. We have had early warning systems, so along our major rivers we have sensors to shoot messages back to the head office that to give for flood warnings, etc. This has been done across the island, and these are things they are little. Some of them are little in the Zion, in the bush, and people don't see them. But I think these are some things we have to speak to more about, because we have to continue to stay ready in the event of natural disasters, because it's very clear to me, and the science is very, very clear. And so sometimes when I go to those international forums and fellows present their papers and like my comrades say, their thesis on our vibes, it's true. The science is real that there will continue to be increasingly bad weather conditions in the region, and it will be more frequent. And so it's not a myth. So it's real. And just recently we had the Hurricane Beryl was coming through. I mean, I think it's the first time it affected our neighboring islands like that. I think, and I don't think they understand what we have to go through as a small country. But we have been tested, and we will continue to do that. But I think just having the important institutions ready, the Met Office and the Office of Disaster Management ready, with necessary tools, we can continue to build that resilient country and continue to move towards shutting that dynamic Dominica. Being able to adapt is also important, like I said. And so we are promoting economic resilience, and that will withstand those major shocks. And the shock I speak about is not just the economic shocks and also pandemics, but also natural disasters. So we had to deal with COVID-19 recently. Just before COVID-19, we had to deal with, that was a pandemic with Hurricane Maria, Tropical Storm Erica. And if we go back in the last 20 years, we have been hit by so many weather situations that we have to be more than ready to, um, to stand up against those things. So, Mr. Speaker, um, within the construct of this budget this year, we see very, very clearly that we are investing a lot of money in ensuring that we build our resiliency. Mr. Speaker, um, I have a passion for the environment. I'm happy to lead the Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Canal Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment. And to say that we are on a drive to continue to encourage fellow Dominicans to play their part, to be part and parcel of keeping our environment intact. And so it is important that we look at Nature Island as not just a brand to speak about just because it's nature by itself, but to play our part in ensuring that we do ensure that that natural space can stay intact for future generations. So it's not cliche. Sometimes you say it a lot, you say, oh, we have a pristine country, it's a tapestry of nature from the turf to the surf, from the mountain tops to the coral reefs. We have to be able to ensure that they are protected. But I think we have to do a little more. We have to do a little more. And so those basic areas within the presentation of Comrade McIntyre, I think they are the important components. So briefly, Mr. Speaker, I will speak a little bit on the environment, and I think I just want to challenge us in this room, and those who can listen, or those who will listen, that I think the budget allocation for the Ministry of Environment is well placed. I think it's in tune with what we want to do at the ministerial level. And so, like we say in some of those major conferences, we stand at a crucial sort of crossroad. And then because our choices today will affect what will happen down the road. So, because we know that the environment itself is very delicate. But the environment has a way of taking care of itself. If you look at Hurricane Maria, it ran through the country, it did havoc, but nature popped back up. The troublesome thing is that how resilient can we be as people to play our part? Because I suspect nature can take care of itself. Nature will do its thing. The trees will grow back. It'll have a few carpi on them, vines. There'll be some dead wood. They'll fall over. They'll rot. They will become fertilizer for the next set of thing. In some instances, nature, fire takes care of nature. It burns down what is not necessary and it sprouts back up. But we have to have a different mindset in how we treat with aspects of the environment. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to protect and preserve that gem that we have. And to say it again, maybe for the 10th time since I've been at Parliament, that gem we have as Nature Island is one that was gifted to us by the Kanaga warriors, held strong by the Negmao, and continue to be pushed forward with the modern Creole society we're part of. So that's important. We have a unique opportunity in this time to play our part to ensure that asset we have been given from our ancestors can be left in good standing for the future generation. So I just want to ask and say to the listening public and to the members of this House, Mr. Speaker, that all of you can continue to join our activities at the Ministry of Environment, clean a mile, sort your garbage at the source, separate them cans, recycle. Just play a part. Plant a tree, and we have been planting trees across the country. We are planting more than 300,000 trees. We have planted trees in the chemutai, in the heart of the forest. And one thing I'm concerned about, though, is the fact that you don't see that. Because when you plant a mahogany tree, Mr. Speaker, you're aware of this, it'll take at least 20 years before you see a tree. And so it's not like building a house or a school. It's a serious thing. And we have serious guys at the Division of Forestry who go out there every day, who hike the Zion, who walk the bush, through the Zeb Kuto, and plant those trees. And they're planting on those trees in the watershed areas, so we can continue to have our nice spring water for the farmers, because forestry is the mother of agriculture, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, you said Zeb Kuto.
Yeah, that is razor grass. Yeah, razor grass. Yeah. Yeah, so I know the Minister of Agriculture has a lot of wonderful projects to be doing. He'll speak about it. Honorable McIntyre highlighted a few of them earlier on in his address last week. But forestry is the mother of agriculture. If we don't have land, we don't prepare the land and we don't protect the land, and we have nothing to farm. Yeah, and especially in Dominica, where we have limited flatlands and we have a lot of cliffs. I want to say the Creole thing, the Cayenne and valleys, but yeah, mountains and cliffs. So we've been doing that, and we've been able to plant also trees along the rivers, and to able to plant what we call in the science of environment nature-based solutions, where you plant vetiver on the cliffs, you plant trees with strong roots, but that's a recent example. We had World Environment Day on June 22nd. We went down to Kulibistri, but a nice affair. Members on the other side were there. We planted trees, and burial came. Took it away. So it means that, but we're not daunted by that, Mr. Speaker. We're not daunted. This is the work we have to do, because we are aware that nature has a way of doing its bit, but we have to continue to push as a country to ensure that we have a wonderful place. Mr. Speaker, I just say, as a little tourism piece there, that Dominica is really a remarkable place. I mean, no wonder when the kind of people came on their canoes and they see that thing. Yeah. They say, yeah, tall is about it. Yeah, mamselle nice. Yeah, mamselle nice. So, but within that wonderful space, we have so many small ecosystems, and it is so important, because the budget is presented also is a series of ecosystems as well, with health and education and tourism, all of that. So seemingly, if we think of environment, if we think of Dominica, we can think of how we can treat with the budget. So just on Lake Dominica, we have 7 different vegetational states. We have littoral woodlands on the east, we have dry on the west, we have mountain forests, we have the rainforest, all of that. So in the very same way, Mr. Speaker, this is how we have to treat the budget, because every item within that budget here is of serious relevance. And I will go back again to say that it is relevant in building a first climate resilient country. It is relevant for building a dynamic Dominica and building powerful, strong people. Mr. Speaker, so we have towering mountains. We've been able to do some work here. But also we know there's a lot of work being done on the surf, which is our extension into the sea. So we're talking from turf to surf, from the land down to the surf. We have had work done, serious work, Mr. Speaker, by the Unity Blue Economy. Honorable Julian Defoe demarcated our sperm whale reserve. A massive thing for us. I don't think we talk about it enough. And because we have more than 200 sperm whale lives in our water just out there, this is a serious source of income. It has been for many years for a few people. We need to expand on this. And so we realize that whatever happens on the ground will definitely affect what happens in the surf. And so in recent time, we have seen some bleaching of corals because of use of chemicals. But this is the work that we have to continue doing, and we have to continue to play our part. I think the onus is on every fellow Dominican to really participate in that venture. Because I see when I travel the country, I see a lot of unsavory practices. A fellow driving in a car, toss a bottle over the window. People are having some meal in a box, they toss it over the window. The garbage cans are filled, the people dump stuff on the side of the garbage cans. Things that should not leave a village at all, like a lap of fig, banana peeling, for instance. Will end up in the landfill. There'll be some chicken bone. So some of those things can be managed at the home. And so we have a unique opportunity now in 2024 to really just instill that. Because, Mr. Speaker, When I said earlier on to join the activities, we have been working with the schools. I mean, and these young people are just so brilliant. They have partnered with us. They've been collecting plastic bottles. They've been recycling. And sometimes I feel, I used to be a teacher sometime for about 20 years in my life. I feel like I want to go back to the classroom because I find the young people, the children, they can absorb those good practices so easily. When some of us are around this room and listening now who are hard back man and woman, we can't understand a simple thing like that. Just manage the garbage from your home. Don't toss it from the window. Don't burn something in the backyard. And so we have to go back to the old ways. And the old ways I speak to is one of, I, 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 it's dear to my heart because it's a thing my grandmother used to do in the backyard. A little pit, put some of the biodegradable stuff, um, and then become a compost and she would use it. The glass bottles, and then we take it to collect water or make a vase with it. And so these are things that seem to be ancient practices, old practices, but the things that we need to do now because um, recycling is a very important thing. So within the Solid Waste Management Corporation, which I'm happy to lead um, there and to help, we have been doing a lot of work. We have outside support from the OECS, from the Norwegian government. We've been able to assist some communities with garbage bins, the Tonga rules with garbage bins, the apartment blocks across the country with garbage bins, just to get people involved. But I just want to zero in back to young people. The children are so excited to go around collect stuff. Why can't we, as the men and women, or the big men and women in the community, play our part? So it's an important thing that we have to continue to do. We'll continue to push, Mr. Speaker. I think it is so important to do that because um, we may not have an HR island if we do not honor those practices. And I think they are easy things to do. Like we say sometimes, they are low-hanging fruit. Although sometimes the low-hanging fruit may not be the best fruit. Everybody touching that and all kind of thing. But these are easy things to do, very easy things to do. And we can all play our part in doing that. So we can transform our environment, I think, to one that has to be, that is not of exploitation of the environment, but one of what I would like to call stewardship, that we have to ensure that we can do this. And so in the very same way, that's how we have to treat the budget, that we are stewards of that piece of document. I heard it said in this room a couple of times that it's looking nice on paper. I heard that. But yeah, it has to be recorded on paper. That's how you start doing stuff. You have to rationalize your thoughts and lay it down, and then you scrutinize it and you move forward. So we have to take some time to go through this, because I think in the budget it really appeals to a number of key pillars or key components that will make us resilient and will honor the massive drive. And we should not forget that after Hurricane Maria, the Prime Minister went out to the world in his wet shoes and stuff and said we were going to do a climate resilient country. The funds for that wasn't always forthcoming, but we were able to do that. I think we have to honor that first move, and I think it's on us. So, Mr. Speaker, education, it appears to me, not just about this budget, but on environmental protection is key. Education. And we at the Ministry of Environment have been out there doing the work. I think we can do some more. We should do some more. I think in the very same way that tourism is everybody's business, I suspect environment is everybody's business. Because if you have an old environment, then there'll be no tourism. If we have land degradation, no agriculture. If we have continuous sleeping up slopes, then all of it will get messed up. If we do not manage garbage, then we have pollution of the sea and waterways. So I think more than ever, environment is everybody business. So we are working with schools, we are working with community groups, we have had meetings, and we have a weekly program on DBS Radio, Thursday at 11, from 11 to 12, environmental matters. And I think we have to participate more in those ventures. Mr. Speaker, so apart from just cherishing what we have on nature, just going design and chill, we have to be able to protect it. More than that, cherish it, protect it. I think because what makes Dominica unique as a tourism product is the fact that people can, like my ancestors, they could find a refuge in Dominica. Fresh water, fresh air, just a place to unwind. When you go to the glow show or hot water, or my comrade Dennis speaks to sulfur spas. When you go to those areas, man, you unwind, yes? And so we have that wonderful space, and we have to ensure that it will continue to be a refuge and also a place that inspires a new generation of Dominicans. And in the very same way, again, back to the budget, the items that are aligned to the Ministry of Environment, a simple thing like just getting rid of hydrofluorocarbons, that these things that come through air conditioning, simple thing, because that affects global warming, greenhouse gases. So we've been working with the customs division to ensure we can sift stuff coming in and check them. We have done training with them. We have been able to give them the necessary resources, computers, etc., to monitor. Because we have to safeguard our borders. In the very same way we safeguard in immigration, other people do it for immigration, we have to ensure that we are and this is in line with international conventions, and we have to ensure that we continue to do this. So the future of Dominica seems to be all right, seems to be good. I think we have to continue to play our part. But Mr. Speaker, during the last budget cycle, I had a task mandated to me by the Labour Party government to work with the existing council, Kanago Council, and I also had an opportunity to work with the then new Atkinson Village Council. And so those two councils really make up the constituency, the Salbe constituency. I just want to, put on the record to say that I will continue that work as mandated. I think I may be the premier champion of Kalina goodness around that room. So I'm not going to stop just saying that. I will continue my work. I need good allies in that work. And if I don't get allies, I'll do it by myself. Because I suspect I have allies in here already. So I want to say that the work in the constituency is twofold, because I'm serving an indigenous community with special heritage, special heritage and culture, but also I'm also serving a joint community that is similar to what happens in the rest of Dominica. So it's a balance between those two. In the coming budget cycle, Mr. Speaker, we will look at completing the Darlington Link Road in Atkinson. We will knock off some works on the beach road in Antrizal. We want to knock off a few homes in the Atkinson community for the people of Antrizal and Atkinson. We will do those things. In the last budget cycle, we did renovation works on the Atkinson Village, the Atkinson Community Center, which serves as an emergency shelter. And we got funding from the GCF EDA project that sits with the ministry I am a part of. And we had that money dispensed through the JEF, Small Grants Program. And so work has been done there. And then across the Kanago space, we've been able to build a number of new homes. I mean, when you go to the Kanago territory, it's a far cry from what was there before 2020. I mean, we can see. So when I spoke earlier on about narrowing the disparity between urban and rural, the Kanago territory is a classic example of this, where you have homes that are built like anywhere else. They're resilient, they're beautiful. The folks are taking care of those homes. They're very grateful for that intervention by the government, and they're grateful for that sort of work that we've been doing. We have had homes from the HRP for some time. We thought the HRP was really domiciled in the Kanago space. But I think more than half of those homes will be built there. We have had support from the European governments. We are knocking off the 6 other EU homes that have been built. So we've been doing this. And
20 more minutes, 2-0.
That's fine. Thank you. But one of the things I really want to speak to in the constituency that affects us in a very positive way is the fact that it's been over a year now that we are allocated some monies for the Kanago folks in the name of the Kanago Development Fund. And that sits at the 8th bank. And people, are, of course, will have to go for the rigors of the banking system because we have to be accountable. And we have seen great strides. People invest in home development, in further in education. Some people have acquired assets, those are motor vehicles, etc. And it's something that will continue to grow. And I was scanning for the budget here. I realized that the budget is committing to another $1 million this year. Um, um, One of the things we're doing, we're encouraging is to support what's happening on the national scene in terms of tourism. We have a Carnival pillar that Honorable Charles have been pushing and championing. Although she's a non-Carnival, but she's been pushing. Doing some serious work at the Carnival Baranaote, doing the Les Calais trails over. And so we have a lot of work being done, and that will add to the Nature Island brand. And so we're doing this. And so we're happy that the fund itself, because we must not forget that there have always been the situation where the Carnival folks were disenfranchised because they had no access to land as collateral. We must not forget that. And this government have decided to allocate some money, and the government have decided to be the guarantor. Is it guarantor? Yes. To that facility. So it's moving on. I just want to encourage my folks from the Carnival space to make use of that opportunity and to push the homestay program we've been doing. And as we speak, Mr. Speaker, we have launched Discover Kalinago website. Yes. Yeah. www.kalinago.com. You can go that now. We will link you up to all of the wonderful things you're doing across that space. And we want to thank the Ministry of Tourism and the PS of Tourism. It have language stuff in there, so it's a beautiful investment we have made, just to ensure that we keep protecting what is ours, but also making ourselves modern and more accessible. And I think again, this is what the budget speaks about. How do we continue to grow a resilient country? How do we continue to make it dynamic? To make it a place where people want to come back and settle and invest. And of course, we have our CBI program. All of those, they are helping us. We're pushing our marina in the north. So all of those things will definitely affect the cyber constituency in a positive way. Mr. Speaker, but we know for a fact that small island states don't have it easy. So I really want to thank my colleagues here who pushing our agenda for the last few months, because we know that climate change itself, as a big thing, have affected us in so many ways. I mean, Minister Vince was Honorable Vince, or Comrade Vince, I'd rather call him, made it very, very clear that these are things that are so clear to us that sometimes we take it for granted that they affect us. And so our nature island is affected by that climate change events, by those events. It disrupts our agriculture. Of course, they're natural disasters. Definitely impact our tourism if we don't keep it in check. There are health risks, of course. Mr. Speaker, it sometimes can affect our simple thing like water, although we are abundant in water, but we know a simple event can like we say locally, can mash up Dawasco, a simple event. So we have to keep that in check. And Mr. Speaker, and we know that those interventions, and Comrade Vince spoke to them, those interventions there has caused us some serious debt. And we have to keep reminding ourselves that we are surviving in a hostile economic climate, yet we are able to push through and service our debt in time and do that stuff. Mr. Speaker, we know again that what affects us as a small island state, not just in our economical structure and our resilient movement, but we know that the climate change events can really mess up our ecosystems. And so we are hopeful that in the coming months of the new budget that we will have no major weather event to affect us, so we can pull that through. We could have 110% implementation of those, at least 110%. And I believe that this government is well equipped to achieve resilient Dominica by 2030. We can do that. We have the skill set, we have the leadership. Governance is key, leadership is everything. And I know that we have the staff. So that's on the ground level, really doing the hard work across the departments that I serve. I'm happy to lead on. Well, I should maybe say chair on, because these people are really good at what they do. The people at Forestry and Wildlife and Parks, the director, Mr. Britton, and his team, the folks at the NEP. Sometimes we speak about the NEP in a sort of flippant manner. And we call all sorts of names, but I mean, part of keeping Dominica clean is what the NEP do, a major component of the NEP. But just to say that the NEP is not just that. We have people in the program who are in the public service, who are wetting their feet in the system, and they will be PSCs and head department in the future. We have also major investments in the private sector that they don't get a larger shares or dry money or in their hands, but they are saving on their wage bills. And so they are part, they have farmers, they have restaurants, they are in all of the service industries, and all of that also, Mr. Speaker, they are gaining experiences. So we have to move away from just look at the NEP. I think it was my comrade Julian Defoe who said some parliaments send an NEP. That's the way we say it. So and I really want to thank those folks that do some very hard work, keeping the country clean. Every major event, they come out in large numbers. We maintain our highways from the airport to Roseau on the West Coast. They do work across the communities. They help out the schools, the churches, playing fields. Whenever there's a major event, they work with various ministries. They have serious brigade that come to Roseau every now and then to ensure the stadium and the surroundings are clean, and we can do it. So we have to celebrate that. And I want to really shout out and salute the leadership at the NEP. Very small unit. Mrs. Honorary and her team, very small unit, but how dedicated, who ensure that that they help us in our work as parents, because it's a serious brigade that we have trying, and they play a major part in the Nature Tourism brand. And so as we get ready for the World Creole Music Festival, you'll see them in action again. They'll be there out there. They'll have their vest on and their hard hats, and they'll be out there really doing. So I just want you guys to encourage them to ensure that that they feel that they're contributing to the country, because they are contributing to the country, and those who are doing the really tough work in the hot sun, in the solar show, that we do not discount their contribution. So, Mr. Speaker, so overall, I think our small economy of Waitukubuli, Dominica, has been better on that level, and I'm happy to serve as a member of parliament and as a minister, charged with a serious ministry that really keeps the nature brand intact. I really want to thank the cabinet colleagues who are here, who banter over things. We joke about some serious things sometimes, but we know that the hard work has to be done, because the Dominican population has put full confidence in us. And so, building a resilient country is all of us business. We are showing leadership. We are drawing out the scarce resources, the financial resources, but we need partnerships across the board. We need every citizen to play his or her part and not complain about what they're doing. It should be what we're doing. I'll say one last time before I close, that environment protection is everybody's business, and that the units that sit with the nature environment, they're doing the work, and they just need the support. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity to lead that ministry and to ensure that we continue to do the work, because we need to continue to build resilient Dominica. And as we magnified in 2019, we need to build a dynamic Dominica, and that dynamic Dominica is built on a solid foundation of environmental protection, sound fiscal policies, good management, and serious and dynamic political leadership. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Wenham, you have the floor. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand and the emotions that I feel are so much, and the passion, and to hear people say, no, certainly not cosmetic, those are real, the real deal. The Labour Party representatives are the real deal. Not sure about others, but the Labour ones for certain. So if you hear, or if you see me having too much passion, Mr. Speaker, you can give me a little nudge, you know? Mr. Speaker, it's about a year ago that I was here, we were here, and I pledged my support to education first and foremost at all levels, and to date, it is the same. Today, I am pleased to have the attention of all of my colleagues in the Honorable House, and of course, to the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica, both here and abroad. And Mr. Speaker, most importantly, the most industrious and thriving space, and just recently, we saw the most beautiful space in the Caribbean, and that is in Portsmouth. So to the people of Portsmouth, Mr. Speaker, before I continue, I also want to take the opportunity to pay tribute to some greats that I have lost in my constituency. Mr. Torley, Mr. Speaker, who is the grandfather-in-law of my dear friend and brother, our Ambassador Ian Douglas. And also to extend condolences to the families of Mr. Paddington. Just a few months ago, we celebrated his 100th birthday. And, you know, that is a man that's like a home man, just a few, 2 miles actually, from Portsmouth itself. And also my good friend in Doda, Nathan, I want to wish him a speedy recovery. And there are some women that their history, their legacy in the Dominican Labour Party and their long service model always calls to either wish us good luck or to give advice. Mafifin, they were faithful, strong with the party. And of course, to salute all of the greats in the Portsmouth constituency. Mr. Speaker, greetings again from my people. And I already expressed that I stand there with a lot of emotions and positive ones as I stand to support the proposed budget as outlined by our Honorable Minister of Finance, the Honorable Dr. Urban McIntyre. I'll start off with the Ministry of Education, Mr. Speaker. Our motto speaks to excellence, national excellence. And the ministry is always eager to have the high pass rates in implementing its projects, its programs, and its activities. And work is always ongoing. And I want to see us have 100% pass as we work into this year again, and of course beyond. When people say we're not working or we're not putting budgets into effect, Mr. Speaker, those things, they touch a nerve, but don't worry. The Ministry of Education continues to show consistency, and we see it, we hear it. The public, they're always pleased. They're pleased with our performance. And this ministry is probably one of the most stable ministries. We see more of our students getting to the B's and the C's in the primary level, and we continue to hold our own in the CSEC examinations. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to say this one slowly, and you will understand why. Our BOYS, our boys, Mr. Speaker, I have to commend them. The boys are excelling, especially those in our primary schools. And if they're excelling in primary school, Mr. Speaker, you know what is going to happen by the time they get to secondary level. Our students across the board are continuing to excel, and we want to ask our parents, our teachers, to just continue supporting the work that the ministry does. In education, our pertinent project areas continue to be construction of our new schools These are on course as work has begun, and I am sure that my Minister of Education will expound on these a bit more in her own presentation. Rehabilitation of our existing school structures and enhancing our school safety net programs. By now, Mr. Speaker, those schools, the names of the schools should be on the lips of every Dominican. We have funding from the generosity and good relationship with the People's Republic of China. Those things cannot go unnoticed. We have the Center of Excellence for Technology and Vocational Education and Training. The new Tivo Primary School, which will be our Center of Excellence for Special Needs. And not too far from us, we have the construction of the Dominica Grammar School ongoing. We have had upgrades to the Caleb Laura and Salivia primary schools, and ongoing works continue at Bakatel. Mr. Speaker, to talk about the school safety net programs, the Labour Party-led government is investing in infrastructure and in its people. And the people are our greatest assets, the human resource. And we're doing that by enhancing the learning environment for better functionality. We do know that for us to thrive and for us to be better individuals, a good space, a clean space, a fresh space, good environment is important. And so the Ministry of Education knows that and focuses place there. In fact, to show government's deep interest there, the third highest allocation is with the Ministry of Education. Technically, we don't have a choice, and this money is being invested to empower, to train, and to build capacity for a more productive workforce. That is what we need at this time. To date, we have about 1,050 teachers employed and 73 principals, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is good. That's great. Education and my area of specialization, the reform, that is enshrined throughout the budget. I don't know if people see that. It's a time for us to use our imagination. And we continue to work with our principals, our students, our teachers, our businesses as well, and other education partners in evaluating where we are in the education process and to see how we can look at employability for our people as we move through the various areas in education, meaning primary, secondary, tertiary, and beyond that. And also to Mr. Speaker, because some people have the notion that reform is something like Nescafe, where you just open the packet, put it in hot water, and that's it. But if I'm to use the coffee analogy, you still have to open the packet. You still have to get the water hot because it doesn't just melt. Some of us have preferences. I'm sure Honorable Lloyd here prefers to have cream in his coffee. So, and some people like sugar, some don't. So reform is the same manner. It's a process. So for those people who think it's overnight, sorry to have to disappoint you, but it is a process. So don't let it seem like it's a snap your finger business and you will see change. No, it's a process. In fact, there are countries who have started education reform more than 30 years ago. It's still in progress. Yeah. So to think that we are backwards, because some people like to use those terms, I don't understand why. Yeah. To think that we are backwards, no, Mr. Speaker, we're not. And we're moving in the right direction. And we are going to see how government, by investing, mind you, they say we're not putting enough, but they're still saying so much money. But we're going to see the returns on our investment. I can guarantee that, Mr. Speaker, as this money will translate into a better and more productive human capital. In addition, we need an intelligent workforce, Mr. Speaker, given the nature of the projects that are now gripping the national psyche. Mr. Speaker, I'm convinced that we are rapidly becoming an even more intelligent nation. We are building safe environments and enhancing the development of skill sets. We invite our people to begin to think how we can integrate units, actions and programs. Each sector, from health to agriculture, fisheries to tourism, housing, and housing as a human need, community development, and how those developments will serve in the education reform movement, Mr. Speaker. This year's budget meets the demands of all departments, and we are pleased for that. Essentially, we strive to build a productive workforce, expressing productive behaviors. And I like to repeat things, Mr. Speaker, because repetition is what will stick or get the idea to stick. So when you hear me repeating, you should know why. Let it stay there for those naysayers. Productive behaviors, they percolate to efficiency and also to, we need to incorporate that efficiency and, effectiveness in our workforces. So that is what we are here to do. And Mr. Speaker, I'll quickly move along to my constituency, and I like to talk about the pie. So our piece in the pie, we have a nice slice. Housing remains one of the most critical areas in the constituency and for most of our constituencies, especially since the passage of Hurricane Maria. Since I came into office, Mr. Speaker, I have seen 6 Kudme homes built, roofs renovated, 12 constituents would have received their homes from the Housing Recovery Project and the EU. We have others who have received other forms of housing assistance. And I know that housing remains one of the top priorities for our constituents. And I've been informed too that in the coming year, this year, we'll have about 3 more homes ready for the owners. That being said, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to quote something from the budget presentation, and permitting that, I read directly from my notes, Mr. Speaker, if you have permission.
Permission granted.
According to the Minister of Finance, and I open quotes, I encourage our citizens, especially the youth, to actively participate in this ongoing housing revolution by investing in land and home ownership. Do not shy away from taking a mortgage to build a home, which can also offer the opportunity for a second income through rental. This approach will help create generational wealth and contribute to the growth and stability of our communities. Close quote. Mr. Speaker, I encourage our young people to take action. These are the things that will ensure that there'll be wealth within your own families. At the end of the day, this is yours. It's your own. And you should be happy to know that I worked hard to have this accomplishment. Mr. Speaker, how can a government not be serious about agriculture when it wants to invest more than $61 million in 1 year? Right? 1 year. I want to commend the Ministry of Agriculture and my colleagues there in moving along nicely with the National Youth in Agriculture program, and it will hold a Youth in Agriculture Symposium in August next month, Mr. Speaker, from the 7th to the 9th of August, right? And Mr. Speaker, this is not just a symposium, it is an OECS symposium, Dominica. First one. We have plenty first, Mr. Speaker. I tell you about the passion. I'll try to stick to the script as much as possible because we need to celebrate more of our achievements, more of the first, more of the best practices, and we have a lot of them. While others are busy with other things of less significance, Mr. Speaker, we are committed to ensuring that we position ourselves to be the go-to for food security, not just in the OECS, but further afield. And I want to again ask our young people, I always go there, because we talk about sustainability in the budget. And it is with the youth that we will see that level of sustainability being met. I want to encourage our young people. Some of you, your parents would have used the land to have you where you are today. Go back to that same land instead of having it abandoned. We still have lots of space for cultivating, lots of space to set up greenhouses. Right now, the Ministry of Agriculture has so many technical experts. We have the Chinese Agricultural Mission born in 1 mile in my constituency. Come to Portsmouth. I'm always inviting people to Portsmouth for one thing or the other. We have good vibes. Come and learn something. Right? Come. He likes Portsmouth. He knows why. He's a farmer, so he has to come. And I really want us to make use of that tissue culture lab in 1 mile. Right? It is another great compliment, and not just for research, Mr. Speaker, but for the creation of jobs as well, jobs for our people. And that facility is more than 11 million, right, Honorable? Right, 11.4 million. And that facility, Mr. Speaker, can provide 500,000 seedlings in a year. I went there, Mr. Speaker, looked at the little space. Well, not so little, but I looked at it. You know, that is after, you know, in the opening phase, there were quite a few people, so you cannot really get to appreciate it. But I went back, and I'm trying to picture 500,000 plants. I saw belly full, Mr. Speaker. So stomachs will be full. And not just ours, but that of our region, our friends. And we know that our food, we have good food in Dominica, great food in Dominica. And when I talk about that 5,000 seedlings, 500,000 seedlings, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I cannot help myself, but you know that word JOBS, jobs, that is all I can think about. Jobs, 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 jobs. So, Mr. Charles, get your field ready. Plants coming. I know we still have some plants in there. So, look for yourself. The blue and green economy, Mr. Speaker. Ah, boy. As soon as I open the door in the morning, that is probably the first thing that I will see. The ocean. And Mr. Speaker, as wide as it is, it affords us the same amount of opportunities and possibilities. And I keep going back to imagination. We have everything, Mr. Speaker, to have us at #1. Everything. Human resources, otherwise, you know, natural and otherwise, we have it. And Mr. Speaker, you see that sperm whale reserve? Every time I speak to my colleague, Honorable Defo, I get excited. From time to time, I can see the whales passing from my home. And I mean, you cannot get more excited than that. The fees we charge in, and our Honorable Defo is ready to up those fees. Mr. Speaker, I cannot even talk. I'll smile and laugh because it's good business for us, Mr. Speaker. And the opportunity to swim with our sperm whales, to interact with Dominica on that level is really special. Mr. Speaker, and while we're no strangers to the sea, there's a need for education reform in the blue and green economy. It's one that it's new for a lot of people. And so a few colleagues and I, we have met already, and we've started brainstorming and, you know, we started the engine on how we're going to have our people better equipped and able to deal with those possibilities that exist within that space. I cannot speak too much more because it's still in the planning phase, but I still want to encourage our people to do some research. There are a number of opportunities from the yachting and marine industry, so do some research, and of course, you can always reach out to your PAL reps, and we'll be more than willing to share the information and to provide some assistance for you. Just some areas of specialization, for example, Mr. Speaker. Yacht plumbing, we do plumbing in the house, but yacht plumbing is very different. We also have yacht carpentry. That's very different too. So these are just some to name a few. And while I'm on the topic of, while I'm on that topic, Mr. Speaker, I also wanted to highlight that Portsmouth benefited from the 3.2 million that was spent in training our boat builders. So just to have that on record. And Mr. Speaker, like as if that is not enough, Mr. Speaker, the Cabrits Marina is on course. Now, Mr. Speaker, believe it or not, I wanted to work with, you see the size of these documents and bigger. I wanted to work with my pictures, right, for proof, for evidence. But probably next time, Mr. Speaker, when I come, we'll be at a different phase. So for those who do not believe, because we have a lot of doubting Thomases, I don't understand why. And for those who still doubting, Mr. Speaker, I just want to invite them. Take a drive, whether it is up or down, depending on your direction. Take a drive and come. Come and see for yourself what is going on there. You're always passing there too, so you can check out our marina space. Mr. Speaker, story time. If we have 15 art shops as part of the Cabrits Marina, and I know you have a background in business, so you might be able to calculate even faster than me. Mr. Speaker, if each of those shops can draw at least $500 a day, EC, US, we're taking Euro, no problem. What would that mean for the Portsmouth economy, for the Northern economy, for our families, investment in small business, the hucksters, purchases for the other adjoining communities, investment in the same works of art, packaging and more. Just think about that for a little bit. Mr. Speaker, all of Dominica can come to Portsmouth. For the Cabrits Marina, no problem. And I'm sure Honorable Roy is going to say the same thing. Vinny, come. And we have enough space. And Mr. Speaker, just in case, some might still say, because they like to doubt. You say it doesn't have enough space. Remember, we built a hospital in less than no time at the peak of COVID. So come people, come to Portsmouth, come and see what's going on, come and find out about your jobs, and so on. Mr. Speaker, we're inviting all of them to come. And this ties in with our improvements for tourism, site enhancement. We bind into the whole community tourism aspect of things. And of course, Portsmouth is no stranger to that kind of tourism and no stranger to yachts and boast of years of experience in the marine sector. So that in itself, because of experience, Cabrits Marina is in a good place. It means that it will finish even faster. Mr. Speaker, let's take a quick voyage to Paris. We're going to Paris. Dominica can say that it is again part of the most eventful, the most spectacular event in sports, the Olympic Games. And Mr. Speaker, we're not just going. We are going in with our star girl, triple jumper Taylor Forgatson. We're going with two swimmers who are bringing in a legacy to the Games. So Dominica is already, in the spotlight. Minister of Tourism, you'd be happy, marketing there for us. And our swimmers are, of course, Warren Lawrence and Jasmine Schofield. And, Portsmouth have to be in things. So, Mr. Speaker, we have our bronze medalists in the NACAC Championships and our national record holder in the 800-meter men's segment, Denick Luke, representing our nature island. The government, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't rest on fostering and preparing our athletes for better results. We have work on the tennis courts and the netball courts, at over 300,000. That is near completion, and the designs for the indoor facility, Mr. Speaker, they're well on their way to being finalized. The team, I know, is already mobilized, as I saw the equipment myself. We have the lighting of the Geese Park in Glanville, that is the potato garden of labor. We have the poles there, they're on site, Mr. Speaker, and I know that very soon they will be mounted, and also through collaborative efforts, because our budget speaks to partnering, right? Partnering to build. We have collaborations, and we will soon see some work at the Benjamin Park for mini athletics facilities in throw circle, as well as a run-up for both long and triple jumps, Mr. Speaker. So we continue to work in the best interest of sports. And also to, Mr. Speaker, I cannot complete this segment without mentioning the work of the Dominican Olympic Committee and its staff, ably led by Mr. Billy Doctorow. And with no uncertain terms, we are grateful to the Prime Minister and to the Ministry of Sport. Mr. Speaker, I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate the Glanville Football Club. They've been doing well. They're my homegrown club. And also to the number of people who come out to support the athletes in various ventures. We have Mr. Kimani Thomas, who's working in the grassroots program to get our goalkeepers up to par. A young man, Mr. Speaker. So when we hear talks of our men being pushed aside, that doesn't happen in the Portsmouth constituency. We also want to thank Mr. Nabi Wallace for revamping and relaunching the Aspirers Athletics Club. Mr. Speaker, this is a project that a lot of people speak about and want to see, I too want to see, is the day when we have the administrative building. That building will not only serve Portsmouth, Mr. Speaker, but the North. And what it will do is that it leads to savings for a number of our people in the northern area. And it also provides that ease of access. You're in a town, it feels more
6 more
townly.
minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just about 5 minutes.
Speaker, I move that the honorable member for the Portsmouth constituency be given an additional 5 minutes.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Wenham Shepherd be given an additional 5 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? Honorable, you are given an additional 5 minutes. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I was saying that this building, it helps to, you know, as I said, just a few days ago, we were featured as being among the most beautiful, only Caribbean country actually. And this too will help in the aesthetics of the town as we look towards further development for our space and for our people. And I'm just asking the constituents to just be patient and trust the leadership. The Labour Party government is very strategic in what it does, very, very strategic, and that applies to how it leads the country and how it puts its projects. So I'm just asking the people to be patient, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, in almost every forum where I speak on small business, you'll hear me saying that the small businesses are the heartbeat of Portsmouth. And I can say that it is the heartbeat of Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we take our small businesses very seriously up north, and so much so that I was more or less forced to open the small business desk that is still functioning after a year, Mr. Speaker. We still have a number of hits, a number of young people are coming to us, and some, you know, beyond youth, but we facilitate. We also accommodate, Mr. Speaker, we accommodate everybody. We have people coming from other constituencies to access the assistance that we provide, and we do that free of charge. Free of charge, Mr. Speaker, because we know the importance of yet another successful small business in Dominica. So we want to continue that, and Mr. Speaker, I hope that even more will come from this initiative. And again, I continue to ask our people to be cooperative and to use their imagination. Mr. Speaker, some time ago I heard you mentioning some ideas for small business, and I hope that we can probably replicate something like that with a more, for a larger audience where they can hear those things. Perfect for small business, Mr. Speaker. Just last week too, again, serious business. Mr. Speaker, over $9,000 was handed to 77 small businesses. And they come from various sectors. Mr. Speaker, that is not little money or games, Mr. Speaker. Some people have the business of the state. Some people have the business of the state like it's joke. That is not a joke, Mr. Speaker. You hear the kind of money that a government puts into its people, into its human resource, into ensuring that we have things running well in a country. Those things are not joke, Mr. Speaker. Over $9,000. I'm repeating that to you. 900, sorry. 938,000. That is not a joke. Right? And that ties in nicely to, Mr. Speaker, with the digital economy. I do know that we looking to upgrade our small businesses, let them get in up to the time. So we look for upgrades in the accounting software. I don't know all of the fancy names, but I know QuickBooks for sure would be one of those that you can use. Doing digital marketing for your business. We're also looking at inventory management and networking. When you're online, that world is, everything is closer to you, Mr. Speaker. So these are the things that we hope our small businesses will tap into and make them more productive. As I wrap up, Mr. Speaker, I would like to mention, I'm going to take my time to say this one even if I have about 5 minutes. I would like to mention that the American Canadian School of Medicine is going to have its 3rd, Mr. Speaker, white coat ceremony. 3rd. And I wish to welcome all of our new students, and I want to reaffirm my commitment to the school and to tell them that we're going to grow from strength to strength. Mr. Speaker, more story. The student population is growing. That is for certain. We started, if you all remember, about 8 or 9 students. And while the student population is growing, Mr. Speaker, we have a number of hits, a number of interested people. Once we're able to convert these prospects, Mr. Speaker, more jobs, plenty more jobs. Mr. Speaker, based on my research, and I like to be on the ground, I like to be in everything in my constituency. Mr. Speaker, supermarkets are expanding, fact. Apartments are filling up, Mr. Speaker, fact. And Mr. Speaker, businesses are staying open later. Fact. Mr. Speaker, listen to this one. Mr. Speaker, even the ice cream shop opens for longer hours and business bright and creamy. And Mr. Speaker, that is what we want. That is what we want. And that, Mr. Speaker, is the work of the Labour-led government. You have to register that, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, after saying all that, I don't know whether, it is too early to measure or to quantify the impact of the new school on the Portsmouth social environment, but Mr. Speaker, the signs are encouraging, very encouraging. Mr. Speaker, Secret Bay, the globally recognized CBI project, recently opened Boaden. And Boaden is food, art, and beverage. It's a restaurant. And it is 2 levels. It features contemporary and Latin American art. There is a gourmet restaurant, full service bar. We have a microbrewery. And we have conference space. We have a mini theater. Mr. Speaker, you can come down and you can sip on some kombucha and just enjoy nature. And of course, you can expect more from Secret Bay. They're not finished yet. Mr. Mr. Speaker, this sort of news I love to hear. Because, again, my favorite word, it starts with J, is what? Jobs, Mr. Speaker, are opening up. And we have to be ready, Mr. Speaker, to seize those moments. And also permit me to just say thank you to all of our funding agencies, our governments and partners who confidently come to our aid and our assistance as we help to build our country. We want to say thank you to our funding partners, and they were foreign and local. We want to say thank you to our contractors who toil day in, day out in the hot sun or not, and they go out in the various elements to ensure that our projects are started and completed and managed, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say thank you to those people, Mr. Speaker. On Sunday at Mass, our priest said, you can never be so poor that you do not have something to give. So for the people, because I heard that term being used earlier, um, about, I don't know, something about little people or whatever. The little people have plenty to offer, and we are grateful for them, Mr. Speaker. The little that they have, they give. So, Mr. Speaker, the Dynamic Dominica plan, it is in implementation mode. The international airport, the geothermal plants and transmission lines, Cabrit's Marina, investments in agriculture, plans for the cruise village, the modern port, strengthening and improvement of our road infrastructure, and all our social programs, Mr. Speaker. The government is doing its part, Mr. Speaker. And I want to urge the rest of our citizenry. Let us do our part. Let us play our part. Government is on board. Government is doing what it has to do. It's creating that landscape, the enabling landscape for us to thrive. But let us do our part. Let us stop blaming and do our part. Let us be responsible. Let us pay our taxes, Mr. Speaker. We have to take care of our homes and our surroundings. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to close by saying that the Dominican Labour Party-led government is focused on its people, and it is continuing to deliver with empathy and with love, Mr. Speaker. And may God bless us all. May God bless Dominica. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Lockhart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Lockhart.
Mr. Speaker, it seems like I need to start making my frequent turn in Portsmouth. You come with me on this? Yeah, please. Thanks. Thank you. Mr. Speaker. Oh no, I need the glasses now. Too close to me. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my full and unwavering support to the 2024-2025 national budget under the theme Partnering to Build the Platform for Sustainable Growth and Development. This $1.4 billion budget was brilliantly delivered by the Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, it reflected a deep understanding of our nation's needs and our challenges. Mr. Speaker, in everything we must give thanks. And today I give thanks. And I think every Dominican also needs to give thanks in abundance. Because, Mr. Speaker, despite the economic challenges being experienced worldwide, This Dominican Labour Party government has once again offered its people a tax-free budget. This achievement is nothing short of remarkable, given the global context of economic instability and uncertainty. Mr. Speaker, we have said time and time again that this government is consistently thinking of ways to improve the lives of our citizens. In a world where economic pressures are mounting and the cost of living rising, it is a testament of our government's commitments and resourcefulness that we can deliver a budget without imposing additional taxes on our people. This demonstrates a clear and unwavering focus on the welfare of all of our citizens. Globally, we're experiencing serious challenges. Inflation affecting economies everywhere. The impacts of climate change are becoming increasingly severe, and energy prices are rising. These issues create significant pressures for households and businesses alike, Mr. Speaker. As a caring and responsible government, our first priority is to the people of Dominica. We are dedicated to providing some level of ease and relief as we navigate these turbulent times together. Mr. Speaker, but I do feel compelled to add that sometimes I get a sense that while we lament the challenges that we face globally, we are not making the necessary personal financial adjustments. Mr. Speaker, many continue to operate with the same imprudent financial practices. I believe that each individual and family should begin to exercise some type of financial planning in order to cope with the challenges that we are presently facing. It cannot be business as usual. Financial discipline and careful budgeting are essential for navigating these difficult times. It's not just the responsibility of governments, but each and every one of us. We must take proactive steps to manage our resources wisely and to plan for the future. Notwithstanding, in this year's budget, we see that this government continues to work tirelessly to create opportunities for our citizens. We are investing in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. We are supporting small businesses and fostering innovation. We are seeing a renewed and stronger commitment to sustainable development and environmental stewardship. All of these efforts are aimed at building a brighter, more prosperous future for Dominica as the first climate resilient nation. Mr. Speaker, this government recognizes that in the absence of healthcare, this country will not thrive. Since this Labour Party came into office, we have seen a dramatic investment in health. Every community is currently being served by a state-of-the-art type 3 health center or clinic. We can proudly boast of the Dominica-China Friendship Hospital and all the advanced medical services that it offers. Mr. Speaker, it was this Dominica Labour Party government that started investing directly in the health care of the entire population by providing direct monetary grants to pay medical intervention both in Dominica and overseas. Mr. Speaker, it never happened before by any other government. It never happened before. This support is extended across the board, irrespective of political affiliation. Mr. Speaker, and I'm the best person to tell you about it. I mean, you know that. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you something. The only thing I'm missing to do now is to sit the medical exam, Because the amount of medical reports and advise. And Mr. Speaker, if I get a report now, I can tell you everything, and I can even tell you if this person needs to go overseas or not. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So I've been listening long, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so whenever we engage in any conversation about the state of healthcare in Dominica, we must recognize the tremendous investment that this government has made in advancing healthcare for all Dominicans. Mr. Speaker, the conversation cannot be in isolation from the support that we provide for accessing private healthcare. This includes grants to access services from private facilities, medication from local drugstores, support from the National Health Insurance Scheme by the Dominican Social Security, and the list go on. Mr. Speaker, and then some people go up to the hospital and they tell them you do have a little pressure medication, not realizing you can just walk down to Bullseye and the pressure medication is there. It's not at the hospital, but it's an island. Like everything else, I mean, every other business, sometimes you low on stock and so on. And sometimes when they need the medication, they still come to us for it, and the government buys it. Mr. Speaker, when people criticize the healthcare in Dominica, they must be mindful that they're not only criticizing the services that the government provides. The criticism extends to those provided privately. It is important to note that had it not been for the direct support provided by this government to so many people, many of these private facilities would not be able to survive. The government investment in healthcare is not just about public health services. It also sustains the broader healthcare ecosystem, ensuring that private providers can continue to operate and to serve the population. Mr. Speaker, the cost of healthcare is steadily increasing in many jurisdictions. For instance, while an MRI is 100 EC at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, the same MRI is $1,880 in Antigua. And in the United States of America, the big United States of America, if you do an MRI now, Mr. Speaker, expect a bill in your mailbox for 3,000 US. And if you go to the emergency room, it could be as much as 12,000 US. They give you a little drips, you do the MRI, and they bill you 14,000 or so US dollars for an MRI in the United States of America. And do research. And Trump can listen to you, man. Mr. Speaker, we often forget that the percentage of citizens who access public health care in Dominica is free. Mr. Speaker, this is our population. All those 17 and under, they don't pay. It's free. All those 60 years and over is free. It leaves us with this. This means, Mr. Speaker, that your government foots the bill to ensure that the services remains available. Mr. Speaker, the provision of the state-of-the-art facilities and equipment by this government should also come with first-class administration of care services from healthcare providers. We must admit, Mr. Speaker, that sometimes there's a gap between the two, and sometimes become a little bit too evident. Our healthcare practitioners should at all times adhere to the ethics and codes of the profession and administer health services with more love and care. The efforts of this government in providing high-quality health care and infrastructure and funding need to be matched by an equal commitment of our healthcare professionals. This ensures that patients not only have access to advanced medical treatment, but also receive compassionate and respectful care. As indicated in the budget, Mr. Speaker, the government approval for the new staffing structure for the nursing service is commendable. This new structure promises numerous benefits, including enhanced quality of care, reduced errors, improved patient satisfaction, and increased job satisfaction. Additionally, the passage of the bills mentioned on page 45 of the budget address will certainly add significant value to the administration of healthcare in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, the comprehensive investment in healthcare by this government is evident and commendable. The Castle Bruce constituency benefits in every aspect, and for this I am quite pleased. The investment in healthcare will continue as we await the completion of the Sansovere Health Center. But this by no means, Mr. Speaker, indicates that our people in this part of the constituency are denied access to timely and proper health services. Mr. Speaker, the government has been at the forefront of the fight against non-communicable diseases, NCDs. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister himself has adopted it as his personal mission. Mr. Speaker, in 2022, we appointed the National Coordinator for NCDs. And from all reports, Mr. Speaker, this department has made several strides in educating and engaging the public on the deadly effects of NCDs. I believe that the general public is in agreement with the increase in the excise tax on sugary drinks by $1 and the alcohol and tobacco by 75 cents. While these are small increases, Mr. Speaker, it is our hope that this will lessen their consumption and save our population from these deadly diseases. And Mr. Speaker, contrary to what the member from Marigot said, alcohol drinking and so on shouldn't be coping mechanisms. There are other things that you can do to cope with stress and so on. And it's almost reckless. A what? Brothel? If it's Brothel, then it's Brothel. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the practice of eating what we grow must begin at an early age. Parents should see this at a time to return to preparing healthy and local meals at home, making local juices with our guava, our cherries, carambola, tamarind, lime, Mr. Speaker, and giving the children their juice bottles to go to school, providing a healthier alternative with reduced sugar. Rather than purchasing a buster for $5 or $6, you can purchase a local bottle of juice for the same price with more health benefits. And for the sake of our nation, Mr. Speaker, I truly hope that we take this issue of NCDs more seriously. Mr. Speaker, I wholeheartedly welcome the government's commitment to the improvement of sports. Your Labour Party government will continue to invest in the development of sports, regardless of the failure of some to recognize these efforts. Mr. Speaker, the government contributes to every sport discipline in this country, be it rounders, cricket, basketball, volleyball, hopscotch, whatever case it is. Mr. One is sports, marble hole too. Mr. Speaker, once it's sports, the government contributes to it, Mr. Speaker, in all of the communities. Mr. Speaker, this includes the construction of new facilities, the rehabilitation of existing facilities, and providing hundreds of thousands of dollars to teams of various disciplines to participate in competition locally and overseas. Every sport team that leaves our shores to compete abroad is supported by the government. Every one of them. Every one of them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for a small island, Dominica is well recognized on the sports scene. Mr. Speaker, and these days I'm into sports too. So as a sports administrator myself, the advancement being made in sports will benefit the members of the most popular and successful grassroots basketball camp in the entire country. Which one of them it is? And it's coming. Mr. Speaker, it is the Senator Austin Lockhart basketball camp for kids. Mr. Speaker, when this camp started, the children couldn't dribble a ball with coordination. They couldn't dribble a ball with coordination, and I have videos to show, to prove. Mr. Speaker, today, they are winning games within the school districts. They are winning games within the school district. Mr. Speaker, there is something unique about sports in general and sports personalities in the Castlebus constituency. While we do not have, for now, improved facilities, our teams continue to perform exceptionally, especially in football. Mr. Speaker, the We United Club and the Connect 767 East Central Club are two of the best teams nationally. Both teams continue to produce football superstars representing Dominica regionally and beyond. Mr. Speaker, and I said previously that we do not have the facilities, the improved facilities now. Mr. Speaker, I know what happened. This proves a long-standing theory that state-of-the-art facilities do not equate to high performance in sports. It is commitment, it is discipline, willingness to learn, respect, and a deep passion for the sport. That's right. All of these qualities, Mr. Speaker, are evident in the guys who are part of both clubs. The Ministry of Sports have given their commitment towards the lighting and upgrading of the Castlebus playing field and the rehabilitation of the basketball court, news that everyone in the constituency welcomes. I must particularly mention Yvette Laura and Sir Stanton Seraphine for the extraordinary work that they are doing with the young guys in their respective clubs, Mr. Speaker. They must be recognized for their personal sacrifices that they make for and on behalf of the club. There are a healthy, competitive rivalry among the teams. They compete against each other to win, but they are all friends on and off the field. Mr. Speaker, in the Castlebus constituency, football is at its highest point. The parliamentary representative herself, her team, Supersonic Baby Ballers, is a success. The Senator Austin Lockhart basketball camp for kids 45 plus strong is a roaring success. We began witnessing the resurgence of basketball among our young men. The netballers are back on the court. The cricketers are regrouping. This is a strong signal that the investment that Honorable Roberts and Honorable George, on behalf of the government, will soon make in developing our two main facilities in Castlebus will be well worth every dollar. Mr. Speaker, we have been very patient, but now we're ready. On a personal note, I must recognize and thank all the business houses and individuals who, some of them, Mr. Speaker, they actually call and said, I see you have this good thing going up there with the kids in the basketball camp and so on, and we want to contribute. Mr. Speaker, so I think I need to mention some of them. You know, our head coach, Ren Bopi Wilshire, And we had Fine Foods, J. Astafans and Company Limited, HSV Whitchurch, Local Dose Juices, Lovely Things by Lee and Jolanda, the parents who enroll the children, Hannah Jackson, Ulrich Esprit, Lauren Banis Roberts, Bradley Laurent, Tasha Kazami. Mr. Speaker, is a list of persons. I really cannot mention everybody's name, but just to say that I am so thankful for all the support that you give to the children. Mr. Speaker, this Labour Party-led government is a government for housing, safe, adequate, and resilient housing.
8 more minutes.
I need more time. Please. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the member be given an additional 10 minutes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that Senator Lockhart be given an additional 10 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Senator, you are given an additional 10 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, this Labour Party-led government is a government for housing, safe, adequate, and resilient housing. Mr. Speaker, I can recall my early days in community work, and I just transitioned from the Customers Credit Union to CCF. And Francis Joseph gave me that opportunity, and Veronica Roberts and so on. I really thank you for that start into that was my introduction, Mr. Speaker, to social work. Mr. Speaker, they employed me as an admin assistant. But in that same month, they needed an additional supervisor to assist Jono. So they promoted me to project officer, and I took on the field. Mr. Speaker, after conducting my first visit, my first field visit, Mr. Speaker, when I got back to the office, I said to them, take the increase, take the job title, and leave me on the desk. Because what I saw, Mr. Speaker, in some of these communities, Mr. Speaker, they were unimaginable. Mr. Speaker, what I witnessed was heart-wrenching. Families were living in galvanized homes with dirt floors. All pieces of cloth being used to block holes. Beddings made out of old clothes wrapped and pushed into corners. Clothing items were piled up in a corner. Most homes had no pit latrines, and if there was one, it was built by CCF. Mr. Speaker, it was unbelievable, it was unimaginable, but yet it was the reality of thousands of Dominicans. When this Labour Party government started the housing revolution and the eradication of pit toilets, we saw a dramatic change in the living condition of thousands of individuals and families. Safe, adequate, and resilient housing became a priority, and the impact has been transformative. This government commitment to improving housing has brought dignity and hope to many, ensuring that no one has to live in such dire conditions again. Mr. Speaker, in the eyes of the ordinary citizen and the privileged as well, the government's thrust towards housing may be viewed as the government just giving people free homes. However, if the same people took time to understand the multiple benefits that adequate housing provides, they would immediately change this narrow point of view. For this government, housing is not just a physical structure. It is a pathway to a better life, in general, for adults in general, and particularly children. Mr. Speaker, as a social worker at heart, I am using the opportunity in this honorable House to advocate for the continuation of policies and programs to address housing needs and support individuals and families in ensuring stable living conditions. Recognizing that this is an integral to the overall well-being and success, I am happy that this government is making it clear that it will continue to prioritize and invest in housing initiatives. From the inception of the housing revolution, which first started in the Castle Bruce constituency, millions have been spent on home renovation and construction of new homes for residents. This initiative has brought significant improvement to the quality of life of many families, providing them with safe, modern, and comfortable living conditions. The positive impact of these efforts is evident throughout the communities, and I am positive that the Ministry of Housing will continue to enhance lives by improving housing in the Castle Bruce constituency. The Ministry of Housing and Housing Recovery Project, HRP, have been working tirelessly towards the commencement of the construction of the relocation of residents of Petit Soufriere, Saint-Sauveur, Goudou on a phased basis. This relocation is crucial for ensuring the safety and well-being of these residents. The comprehensive planning involved in this project demonstrates the government's commitment to providing secure and sustainable housing solutions. I want to assure the residents that you have not been forgotten. The initiation and planning phase of this project can sometimes be the longest, involving a wide range of studies, proposals, negotiations, and other preparatory activities. These are lengthy and tedious processes, but they are essential to ensure the success and sustainability of the project. Detailed environmental assessments, land surveys, and consultations with various stakeholders have been conducted to guarantee that the housing development for the people of Petit Soufriere, Goudou, and Saint-Sauveur meet all necessary demands and requirements. As a member of the technical committee, boy, that is a story by itself. How I end up as a technical member of the committee? Mr. Speaker, I think the PS at one point was fed up with me, and she said, Ostel, okay, you join the technical committee. Because every 2 days, I was calling the PS. I was WhatsApping the PS. What's going on? What's the latest? Why are you stuck? What's the bottleneck? When you come with the people, I wasn't troubling the minister too much. But because the PS was very responsive, and I must thank the PS for all the work that she's doing. Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the residents that the project is 100% on track. The complexities of such a large-scale project often mean that visible progress may not be immediate, but rest assured that substantial work is being done behind the scenes. Currently, a detailed site plan, including infrastructure works, is before planning for approval. The plan ensures that the new housing development is well equipped with necessary amenities and services. Additionally, work on the house design is ongoing with a focus on accommodating the specific needs of families who will be relocated. The actual construction activities is set to commence soon, as indicated by the Minister of Finance in the budget address. Mr. Speaker, keeping true to its socialist philosophy, this government continues to look after the needs of the vulnerable. Mr. Speaker, I vividly recall a period when our country relied heavily on the support of foreign NGOs, which of course provided essential protection programs and assistance to many individuals and families, especially the most vulnerable. These NGOs played a critical role in supporting our citizens and contributed significantly to our nation's welfare. However, since the Dominican Labour Party took office, and particularly Prime Minister Kerry, our government has taken this vital responsibility at ensuring that it provides this critical support and protection to those in need, demonstrating our commitment to caring for all citizens. This government has broadened this social safety net so far that many of the programs that the NGOs offered then were taken over by the government. Mr. Speaker, again, I can speak to CCF. We were providing textbooks, the government started providing textbooks. The uniform program, government took over. School feeding program, the government took over. Provisional school fees, examination fees, and so on, the government took over. Mr. Speaker, at one point, CCF couldn't justify a reason to stay in Dominica, you know. We couldn't justify it. Because they keep saying that Dominica doesn't have poverty. Because as the government broadened its social safety net, there was no use for CCF here anymore. So granted, they put me out of work. Well, not really out of work, but I transitioned, you know, and many of us transitioned. But they, at one point, they said to us, we have to leave. We have to go into Africa and these other countries because the government is doing so much. The government is doing so much and taking over all the different things that the TCF was providing that they were really and truly, they couldn't justify staying in Dominica anymore. Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy that the government is also continuing all of the social programs, including the Yes We Care program. Mr. Speaker, I'll pause on the Yes We Care program because we know the state of our elderly then before the Yes We Care program. Mr. Speaker, persons who worked and contributed to society in their twilight years, they were home sometimes days without a bath. Mr. Speaker, elderly people used to die at their homes and be recovered 2-3 days later. Some of our elderly people used to walk the streets of the villages to find their next meal. Mr. Speaker, and when this Labour Party government started the Yes We Care program, the opposition criticized it and they called them needy and greedy. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine this? Needy and greedy. Mr. Speaker, say what you want. When it comes to elderly people, we have to be very careful because, as they say, once a man, twice a child. And you can have 10 children, 10. They could be overseas working, and some of them not turn back to take care of you. And it's happening. Mr. Speaker, one cannot overemphasize the importance and the impact of the National Employment Program. There is a growing misconception that the NEP employs only beautification and only for beautification and cleanup, and the salaries are capped at $1,000. This is certainly not the case. Mr. Speaker, the NEP employs individuals ranging from those with primary education to those with master's degree across every sector. They represent their respective offices and departments at regional and international forums. The NEP salaries are in line with those in the government service. However, some individuals intentionally spread misinformation to be mischievous and malicious. And unfortunately, those who are under the NEP remain silent and not correcting these falsehoods and protecting their bread and butter. Mr. Speaker, I stayed contracted under the National Employment Program for many years. For many years. I have personally experienced the benefits of this flagship program. I have seen firsthand how it has transformed lives for many residents in the Cassius constituency and around the country. The NEP has given thousands the opportunity to earn legitimate salaries. People who otherwise had never been able to gain employment, Mr. Speaker, due to lack of education and skills. Past issues with the law and other barriers are now able to work and take care of themselves and their families. Mr. Speaker, This old saying, you never miss the water till the well runs dry, always comes to mind when employees themselves criticize the NEP program. Mr. Speaker, I can say with much certainty that had it not been for the NEP, the situation for many would be bleak. Those who sit and criticize the NEP, they themselves would not employ any one of them, you know. Not even a journée they will give them, Mr. Speaker. Much less for full-time work, a day job, a day's work. Single mothers who have never worked a day in their lives and have had to depend on the generosity of others, and sometimes, too, Mr. Speaker, under the pressure of others to feed their children, are now able to get a salary as independent women. Many of our local businesses continue to benefit from the free human resource support provided by the NEP. This support is valuable in helping businesses to thrive and to grow. Mr. Speaker, do you know who have the most confidence in the NEP? It's the lending institutions. The lending institutions. Some of these institutions specifically structure financial packages aimed at the NEP employees. And why not, Mr. Speaker? With close to $4 million being spent to cover salaries of the NEP on a monthly basis, with a strong commitment by this government that the NEP is here to stay, these institutions are supporting our employees by providing them with the financial resources to advance their lives. This budget reflects our commitment to protecting the most vulnerable in our society and ensuring that every Dominican can live with dignity and hope. We are focusing on strategic investments that will drive economic growth,
3 more minutes.
enhance our resilience to climate change, and improve the overall quality of life of our people. With critical projects such as the Geothermal project, the marina in Portsmouth, the cable car project, the increasing numbers of hotels, the new cruise village, the new cargo port, and yes, the international airport, Dominica is being positioned for substantial economic growth and improved quality of life for every Dominican. I urge the people of the Castle Bruce constituency, specifically the young people, to position yourselves to take advantage of all the opportunities that the country will gain from this project. The parliamentary representative, Honorable Octavia Alfred, and I stand ready to assist you in whatever way we can. While our residents benefit from all the programs and policy of this administration, I want you, or people in the Castle Bruce constituency, to be more proactive in seizing these opportunities. Mr. Speaker, the Castle Bruce constituency is made up of the most friendliest, loving, caring, compassionate, and reasonable people. These are the people who do not generally let politics divide them. They have repeatedly chosen the Dominican Labour Party as the party of choice. And as a prominent face in the constituency, I will continue to play my small part in being present and responsive to their needs. Together with our parliamentary representative, we will ensure that this budget is properly articulated to everyone in the constituency, from Pidi Soufriere to Castle Bruce, including Formel. Every household should know what this budget means to them and how we will benefit from this $1.4 million budget. Billion, sorry. 1.4 billion. Mr. Speaker, I have given my support before, and I'm reaffirming my commitment to support my parliamentary representative, Honorable Octavia Alfred, in working together to uplift the lives of the residents within the Castle Bruce constituency. Around this time next year, Mr. Speaker, the Castle Bruce will welcome a massive influx of people who reside overseas for our Castle Bruce family and friends reunion. This is our third edition, celebrated under the theme Castle Bruce.
One more minute.
C'est ça, nous toutes. 1 minute is all I need. Plans for this special occasion are on high gear, with 2 planning committees in place. 1 minute already distracted me. Plans for this special occasions are in high gear, with 2 planning committees in place, 1 local and another consisting of individuals in Dominica and overseas. Subcommittees have been established to handle specific event areas. We have already received travel commitments from hundreds of our Castle Bruce people and friends around the world. This reunion is poised to be the biggest event in Dominica, and the official launch date is August 17. From cultural to traditional activities to modern entertainment and family gatherings, this event will highlight the rich diversity and unity of the Castle Bruce constituency. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I fully support this budget. It is a thoughtful, well-crafted plan that addresses our current challenges while laying a groundwork for future success. I applaud the Minister of Finance and the entire government team for their dedication and hard work in moving this country forward. Together, we will continue to advance our nation and improve the lives of all Dominicans. I thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this Honorable House be suspended until 7:15 this evening.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be suspended until 7:15 this evening. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House stands suspended until 7:15.